engage in conversations outside the chambers, and the city clerk has an announcement.
If you are here to speak under public comments or on a particular item on the agenda, please fill out a request to speak card and turn it in to staff who is standing in the back, or the deputy city clerk who will be standing here to the right. The cards are located near the doors at the back of the chambers and also with various staff throughout the chambers and outside. Please also be aware that the electronic timer is not working, so the deputy city clerk will be our timekeeper tonight. She will be sitting at the staff table or up here, and when you have 30 seconds remaining, she will display a red card and the alarm will sound when your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And City Clerk, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Councilmember West.
Here.
Councilmember Spriggs.
Here.
Councilmember Aguirre.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Patton.
Here.
Mayor Dedina.
Present. And now my pleasure to invite Girl Scout Troop 6179 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much, girls, for being here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, girls.
Good job.
Thank you.
Now we have council reports on assignments and committees, starting with Councilmember West.
Okay, let's get this going. So on the Airport Authority, on the 16th of May, the executive and ALEC and the budget workshop went really well. 23 May, executive and finance meeting, and on 30 May, we had the board meeting where we approved the budget. So that's exciting news. 27 May, I was happy to be a part with the mayor and Councilmember Patton for our Veterans Day, our 53rd annual Memorial Day ceremony. It was fabulous, and I was really happy to be there, take part of it. Memorial Day is it's a somber day, but it's nice when all of our veteran organizations come together and celebrate it. So it was great. And then on June 1st, I was honored to be part of the 77th annual anniversary of the Battle of the Midway at USS Midway. There are only 3 surviving members of the Battle of Midway, and that greatest generation, and it was a moving night, to say the least. And we had a 97-year-old man who get up and he re-enlisted a bunch of young recruits, and it was really moving. So, and that's it for things that were coming up. Though I think everybody, this Saturday, June 8th, 10 to 12, we have our second of our Clean Cities initiative happening up at 13th and IB Boulevard. The great thing about this one, I would really highly recommend people coming out to, because who's tired of seeing cigarette butts around the street? Are we all tired? Yeah. So guess what? They're actually going to be identifying places to put ash cans throughout our community at this one. So come out, make your word known. You'll get to be a part of it. And then right after that, Cali Valha Arts Festival from 11 to 7 in Veterans Park. I know that we have some of our RV Arts Bureau people that will probably be talking about it. And then last but not least, Monday, June 10th, transportation is really important. We need to be out there. So 9 a.m. is registration. The forum goes from 9:30 to 11:30. It's at the it's from South County Economic Development at the Chula Vista Library. Come on, come on. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Spriggs.
Thank you. Just a few items. This past Sunday, the 2nd, I was pleased to attend a really great IB Optimist fundraising, and their annual fundraiser, and at the Red Cafe was really well attended. Coming up this Thursday, Metro JPA, that's the Joint Powers Authority for the countywide wastewater program, will be meeting. It's a very packed agenda. Wednesday next week, I will be going to Sacramento for the meeting of the League of California Cities Policy Committee on Housing, Community, and Economic Development, a subject that is very, very pertinent all over California, affordable housing, including in this community. I have to disclose that the costs as stated in today's consent agenda aren't accurate because I will be spending a night there in order to attend the early morning meeting of the committee that I'm on. So there'll be a hotel charge in there too. So it'll be about $350 instead of $212. Today, the California Coastal Commission published their agenda, or at least an announcement regarding their agenda for their July 12th meeting in San Luis Obispo. And they announced that we will be having the joint workshop that I've spoken about on several occasions between the Coastal Commission and the cities and counties, or representatives of the cities and counties, coastal cities and counties of the state of California. There hasn't been such a joint workshop for this be, I guess, the first time in about 4 years. I was at the last one as well. I will have the honor of being the chair of the cities group that will be in that meeting, and we are working very hard right now to finalize our talking points for that meeting and to try to have a joint paper with the counties, because we have very similar issues with the coastal counties, and there's strength in numbers, so we're hoping that works out. That's all I've got to report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Aguirre.
Good evening, everyone. On May 16, I was invited to present to a group of leaders from the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce about all of our cross-border pollution woes and our efforts to tackle it. On May 19th, I met with State Senator Ben Nuestro's staff to discuss his upcoming Senate Bill 690 that has to do with Tijuana River pollution, and his request of $15 million for the Tijuana River Valley to tackle some of this pollution as well. Then on May 17, the mayor and I had the pleasure of receiving Interim Mayor Terreros from the city of Tijuana. He made an effort to come visit us and share with us that he is very much open to collaborate on ways to address cross-border pollution and especially the trash and sewage issues that affect our communities. And then on June 3rd, I was fortunate enough to join City Manager Hall and Deputy City Manager Cortez at our pop-up budget meeting on Monday. It was really great. I see some faces that were able to join us that day as well. We had some great questions, some great discussions. So thank you all who attended. And then today I was at a meeting of local, state, regional, and federal stakeholders convened by the Environmental Protection Agency. Region 9 Administrator Michael Stoker was there. Mayor Dedina was there, Mayor Faulkner, Mayor Bailey, a number of us council members from both Coronado and Imperial Beach. And we had a series of presentations of all the different studies that have been going on in the last year. There's the study that NADBank, the North American Development Bank, is finalizing. The county is finalizing another study. In a nutshell, we were presented all the great data that's been collected, but what we really wanted to walk away from that meeting today was with an action plan or an action initiative to take action to show a united front. So we held a press conference where we discussed that. And moving forward, we're hopeful that with all this data, we will finally be able to put some funding and some projects in place that ultimately will mitigate all the cross-border pollution that affects our community. And then just want to remind everybody that tomorrow we have our US IBWC Citizens Forum Board meeting at the Estuary. I believe it starts at 5:30. Thank you. And then I want to remind everyone and extend a cordial invitation to everybody to join me June 13th. It's a Thursday at Bikeway Village from 6 to 8. We'll be hosting an MTS meeting to hear from you. What are your needs, your concerns regarding public transit? As an MTS board member, I want to make sure that we have that discussion and that I can raise those priorities from our community to the board in general. So June 13th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Patton.
Yeah, thank you. A couple weeks ago, I went to the Volkswagen show down on Seacoast. Even in the rain, there's still a lot of people there. And what I liked most about it, everybody had a VW story. And you're walking around. I think I told mine 3 times at least. Then I did a scholarship talk. I talked to all the kids that received scholarships from Mar Vista High School. In total, they received over $1 million in scholarships. So we're doing pretty good here in Imperial Beach. I was really honored to talk to that group. And then the South Bay Union School District had their district championships, and I usually go to all of them, and where they honor a teacher, community member, volunteers. Well, by chance, my wife got honored as a teacher, and of course, I was late and missed it. But I think, like, I felt like a heel. But Mr. West was there. He took some pictures, so thanks, Mr. West. Yeah, that was a foul. Then, of course, a memorial service at Veterans Park. I just felt honored to be there and hear the stories are just incredible. And just minutes ago, Mayor Dedina and myself were at Mar Vista High School's graduation, where the mayor gave a nice speech and I said a few words. And there's a lot of people. It was packed. And there's still people walking up when we were leaving. And I hated to leave, but we had the meeting. And then upcoming this Saturday and Sunday, the Imperial Beach Athletic Club will be holding their second annual cornhole tournament. And on Saturday, that's for adults. And Sunday, it's for children. And it's free for kids. And it's going to be at the end of Dahlia Street. Registration starts at 8 in the morning. So come on down, sign up, and have a good time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. In the spirit of, we have a lot of public comments. So I'll just say ditto to some of the stuff that I talked about, board meeting today and then graduation thing. So we have a lot of little kids here waiting to speak on the budget items. So there's 13 public comment speakers. So if you don't need to speak for 3 minutes, we have now 14. Just let us know your business and then we can get through that so we can get these little kids back home and not waiting here for a while. So anyway, June Frost. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Communications from city staff. There you go.
So, Mayor and Council, just a couple of things from the staff. First, I'd like to thank the public for the public outreach meetings we had on our budget. So we had an open house on April 29th. That was well attended, and we really appreciate that. We also had one on May 29th and on June 3rd. So we really appreciate all the input that we received from the residents. But there's a couple of agenda changes that we need the city council to consider. One is that staff would like to request that item 3.1 be pulled off the agenda. We will add it to a future agenda. This is the item concerning cannabis. This item was to consider the changes to the city's cannabis regulations pursuant to a settlement agreement. As late as 4 p.m. today, the city received new information from the attorney that represents the parties to the settlement agreement, and we have not had a chance to get that to you or to review it ourselves, and so we're asking that that item be continued on your agenda. The other item that the mayor was just talking about, we would like to ask the city council to first then continue item 3.1, but then also take item 4.5, which is consideration of our budget at the beginning, because I think that there are a lot of the young folks in the audience that are here for that item. So if you guys are open to that, we'd like to make those two changes on the agenda. Thank you.
That one
And
motion, not speak for one motion.
Yes.
Is there a motion to continue item
Motion.
3.1?
Second.
4.5, great. Please vote.
And then I do believe the assistant city manager has a couple of comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carried unanimously. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. I just wanted to provide two updates. The first is an update to our local coastal program and our general plan. We have received, as you know, a lot of information based from different locations or from different folks, including the California Coastal Commission. And so what we're proposing to do is to separate some of the items, separating the negative declaration, the climate action plan, and the mobility element that includes our complete streets component, and separate that from the general plan and the local coastal plan. So the agenda, or the summary of events that we had put out back in February, had identified June 19th as the entire package coming to the city council. That will not be coming to the city council on June 19th. What we're proposing is that on July 17th, that the climate action plan, the negative declaration, and then the mobility element would come to you. That will allow us additional opportunities to receive feedback from individuals based upon the comments that we've got from the Coastal Commission, as well as others. I would also like to just clarify, because there has been some maybe some miscommunication or misinformation relative to some of the elements that are manifest in our draft plan as it relates to managed retreat. Managed retreat is not in our local coastal program or our general plan, nor is eminent domain. Nor are there any increases in residential density. So again, I just wanted to state that on the record in front of you all, and if anybody has any questions. So as a part of the additional outreach, what I would request, and anybody can reach out to me in my email, give me a call. We're looking for different ideas on feedback. So if people have different concepts, based upon what we've traditionally done, let me know, because we're always willing to look at different methods. So again, that's kind of an update on the LCP and the general plan. The second thing I'd like to talk about is a little bit, it's about economic development. And so I'd like to bring up Reina Ayala and Megan Openshaw. And Megan just walked right in front of Reina. So so what I'd talk a little bit about is some of the economic development opportunities. And I'll be very brief here, because I do know that we have a large agenda before you this evening, and lots of little kids here. But we've done some pretty interesting things. And Reina and Megan helped me put together an economic development opportunity sort of marketing brochure, statistics on Imperial Beach, and a really nice folio that I'll ask Reina to show you. It's an 11 by 17 folio document. And so as we were getting ready to prepare those, they're very expensive. So instead of doing that, we had the notion, and all of you should have a little black card in front of you. And that little black card, and we have cards available at the community development desk, as well as right up here. There's a link to a website, and I'm going to ask, and it's already up. Look at that. Before I can even ask, it's already up on screen. If you go to that website, you're going to see an interactive web display. That's basically that document there. And so as Reina is scrolling through it, I'll turn it over to them and show how you can use this really quickly.
Okay, hello everyone. So on the screen, this is a landing page. And so we have the community profile of Imperial Beach, which includes the market area and demographics for the community, and is inclusive of recent developments that we've had here in the city. And then clicking up here, we can just go ahead and start the tour, and I'll hand it over to Megan.
So as you can see here, as I'm clicking through on this arrow, we essentially have it in a configuration that's an interactive roadmap. This basically can take you on a little trip throughout the city of Imperial Beach to what we consider different potential economic development sites that really are a good example for the city. And so as you can see, when you land on one of these specific sites, there is an image of the site itself, as well as some zoning information and information that is relevant to the site.
So again, we'll stop right there. But I also wanted to indicate that we took this to the International Shopping Centers Conference in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and handed out a bunch of cards and met with some folks, because again, as you know, SR 75 has been relinquished. And so that's a big deal for the city, because it eliminates the need to go through the Caltrans process. But also we are working with our colleagues in the city of San Diego, who butt right up next to us, to try to make this a more cohesive sort of economic development package to get that corridor looking like it should be. So in any event, just wanted to let you know of some of the economic development opportunities that we're looking at. And again, it's serendipitous that it's on the agenda with the budget tonight, because this shows how we're working to grow our tax base and our economy here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful work. Really appreciate it.
Mr. Quick comment. Being the longest serving member currently on the council, this is the best package of promotion of Imperial Beach I've seen in the 8.5 or so years I've been on the council. And I think this is a great service you're doing. Sorry? Ever. How about ever? Yeah.
We'll take it.
Ever.
Again, we have a great team, so thank you.
And secondly, on your point about postponing some of the discussion on the LCP, I think that's a good idea. Our meeting with the Coastal Commission, all the coastal cities and counties, is the 12th of July. The top two issues are short-term rentals and sea level rise. And in that latter one encompasses managed retreat, because many of the coastal communities are concerned about the Coastal Commission's approach to managed retreat for all the LCPs that they're working on. So I think we'll get some good feedback out of that will be useful in the further development and finalization of our own LCP.
Thank you. Mayor, can I have 1 second? Just, I'll be quick. Can we get this on our cards? So, in other words, so we're not giving out 2 cards where we can put this, hey, on the back of our city cards for the city council.
Your new business cards?
Yeah.
We can always do that. Well, the
Yeah,
thing is that we're going to be updating this. So
yeah, whatever.
Okay.
I just want the link. So when I hand out stuff that I can actually get it out there.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
Great, thank you. Now we have public comment again. We have like 13 different speakers. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to make one real quick comment. Because we removed item 3.1 off of the agenda, and some of you actually can't, that's the cannabis item. And some of you may have come to talk to the city council or share your feelings about cannabis. That those cards have been put with the public comments. And so you may hear your name read with the public comments, and you can choose to comment now or when it comes back on the agenda. But we wanted to make sure that everyone had a chance tonight since it got removed from the agenda.
Thanks. And then bear with us tonight. The clock's not working. Apparently that will be fixed at some point. So the city clerk will be monitoring time, and then someone will have someone advising you when you have 30 seconds. If you don't need to use all 3 minutes, let the other folks behind you go. So we have June Frost, followed by Lisa Thomas, followed by Leonard Miranda, followed by Jack Seafried. If you guys could just line up so we can get that going. Thanks, June.
So hi, I'm June Frost. I'm the branch manager at the Imperial Beach Library. First thing I want to do, I want to thank you, Mayor Dedina, for coming to our volunteer recognition the other night. You and Supervisor Cox are always so generous with your time. It's incredibly important to us to honor these people who provide all these free services to the community, as well as keep the library supported. We could not run that library without our volunteers, so thank you so much. Second thing I wanted to say is, for those who haven't heard, the Public Safety Cook-Off is July 24th, and right now I only have one group that's being represented, and that's the lifeguards. And if no one else shows up, then the lifeguards are going to get a plaque again. I'm just saying. So you guys, city council members are invited to participate. We are not doing chili this year.
What?
We're changing it to Spam. You can cook whatever you want with Spam. Oh yeah, it's game on.
Do we have to eat it?
That's that. Well, you know, your part of your judging are the people in the audience. So, yep, have fun, and you can make chili with sand too. So, I'm hoping to hear something from you guys soon and get some rubbish. You can have up to 2 representatives. Secondly, if you were up early enough this morning, KUSI was in town, and they did 4 segments at our library, hosting or announcing the start of our summer reading program for San Diego County Library. I did bring one of the brochures. It's Summer at the Library. We all grew up with the old library summer reading programs. You read a certain amount of books, and then you got a McDonald's prize or something like that. This is way different. This talks about reading a book. It talks about try something new, create a new program, help somebody, do something. And every time you do something, you get a little stamp. You get 10, you get 1 prize. You get another 10, you get another prize. Attend a library program. It's very unique. I think it's very special. This is the 2nd year that we've done it. And I'm looking forward to this summer being another successful one. Hope that you guys will all attend. So having said that, I'm going to start over here with Mark, if that's okay, Jackie. Just drop this off over here. You guys can get a seat. Basic. Guys have a nice day.
Great. Thank you. Lisa Thomas.
Good evening, members of the council, honorable mayor, members
Just
of the
pull the
community.
microphone down. So you can
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm short. Lisa Thomas, 753 10th Street, Imperial Beach. I was going to speak specifically with regards to 3.1, but that's been pulled. The only thing I'd like to say is that if we're going to introduce more than one cannabis facility, I'd really like to encourage our city council to implement some sort of a cannabis tax. I don't know if it's been discussed or not, but I really want to bring it to the table. From what I gather, other communities do. I don't patronize those places, but I don't want to be the cheapest place so that everybody comes here. And at the same time, I don't want us to be the most expensive place so it dissuades everybody. So if you guys could just kind of, keep it in line with other communities, I really think it's a good idea to take into consideration adding some sort of a cannabis tax to give back to our community. And that's all I've got to say this
Thank you
evening.
so much. Appreciate it. Leonard Miranda.
Hi, Leonard Miranda, new resident, moved 2016 here. I love this city. It's really a diamond in the rough. And thank you for the time. I too am here to speak about that proposal as far as maybe expanding into 2 units. So I'm going to give you some information since we're really limited on time. I pulled up a recent research study done by the University of Colorado, and it's really short, but it cites 3 different studies. And it's really a good analogy to take a look at because of the recency of them legalizing dispensaries. So this was written on February 20th, 2019. It's looking back at 2014 when they legalized their marijuana. And basically it says 10 states in the District of Columbia now allow the sales, possession, and use of marijuana for recreational purposes. 33 states in the District of Columbia allow medical marijuana. Critics argue that the marijuana dispensaries are magnets for crime. A new study found an association between marijuana dispensaries and the increase in rates in crime and disorder in neighborhoods in Denver, Colorado, shortly after this legalization occurred. What they found was that there was an increase between, well, I'll just quote it. We found that neighborhoods with 1 or more medical or recreational dispensaries saw increased crime rates that were between 26 and 1,452% higher than in neighborhoods without commercial marijuana activity. I'm going to forego the rest, and then I'm going to just go to the 2 other studies. A study by the School of Public Affairs researchers found a relatively strong association between marijuana medical dispensaries and drug and alcohol offenses. So it's a secondary effect of the dispensary opening up. Another study by the CU Denver Criminal Justice Research indicates that both medical and recreational marijuana dispensaries are associated with an increase in most major crimes. So 3 different studies all coming up with the same conclusion that there's been an advancement in crime as a result of the dispensary. I was really happy to read through the staff report. It seems like the city actually was pushing this off as long as they could, and now the genie's kind of out of the bottle. I think by adding another one, I thought the first agenda statement that was put out there as far as looking at the information and seeing what the calls for service were after a year, it all seemed very prudent, sounded like it was well thought through. Now you're looking to double the size of something you have no data on. So it seems really premature to go down that road. I understand there's some other dynamics that I'm not fully aware of, but I would thoroughly request that you guys do not open a second one until you know what's happening. And a result of that today, I also contacted a member of the Chula Vista Police Department, their Special Investigative Unit. That representative from Chula Vista PD Special Investigating Unit is their expert in marijuana. Travels the state of California, travels throughout the nation, and he said that there's been a correlation between dispensaries opening up and 2 or 3 new illicit black market people moving in to those areas to try and undercut the primary legal business. And the legal business hasn't been the problem. They do it right. It's the illicit activity that attracts.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sigrid. After we have Dante, and then Tracy Rivera, and then Eric Siverson, and then David Frank.
Mayor Dina, thank you for responding to my email and then actually forwarding to the other people who didn't get it. I apologize to Councilman Aguirre. I don't know if you forwarded it to her because it kicked back to me that she didn't receive my email regarding my next door neighbor who we filed a complaint.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. And there was apparently I thought the city manager had gotten it, and
no,
and it
I
went to the
actually
wrong email.
originally emailed the assistant city manager. That got kicked back to you because I couldn't find your email.
So normally I would have forwarded that to them because you were on the list. I didn't. And then I realized I went back to my email to make sure they'd gotten it. I hadn't heard back. So sorry about that.
Really appreciate it. Yeah. What I find a little troubling is we filed this last year in August, and the only thing that's been done or compiled is 2 letters to the homeowner. She still has, ever since the first letter went out with the cease and desist regarding her renting out her house, which is a separate apartment, by the way, she's continuing to rent it out. In my email, I said, in the picture that I sent you, That was her original statement, which is blatantly telling you that she has a separate apartment in her house in a single family residence. That's just wrong. Second of all, the city never followed through on that other than sending a letter. The house says beach house with arrows pointing to the side with the gate, with the sign saying beach house. And then there's a front door on the side of the house that says beach house. It's pretty blatant. In my email, she was originally on Airbnb, stopped that when she got the first letter. Then in my email, it said she was on VRBO. She's now not on VRBO. She's now on Flipkey. So she's changing formats, and in my email, I only listed the 4 formats that I know of. There's got to be a ton of formats that these people are renting from. And in fact, searching today before I came over to the council meeting, I saw a neighbor up the street on one of my cross streets that's renting his house out for $316 a night, which is another part. I mean, it's a rampant problem. And I think, I know there's been numerous articles in the last month regarding this. I think the city has to start really looking at hiring more people or approaching in a different way. I know there was fines being talked about, but I mean, with the blatancy of my next door neighbor, it's really troubling, especially when not only me, but 2 other neighbors filed this complaint as well.
So you'll follow up immediately.
Just so you know, we did get the email yesterday. It was kind of a snafu. We had the wrong email address. Sorry about that. But I did get a report from the code compliance people today, and I will forward that to you either tonight or in the morning. I was just finishing an email when the city council started, but I did get the information from code compliance. So I will make sure you understand right where we are in the enforcement process.
Okay, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry
Sorry
In
about
the future, yeah,
Jack Siegfried.
I know you contacted me, and again, because of the whole email thing, but contact me. I'll make sure. I don't know if you have my cell phone, but I'll make sure you get it so you can.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I got your emails off the website, so that might be something you need to do. So maybe update that.
Can that be forwarded to those of us who didn't get it, please?
I'm sorry. So what happened was the code that put in there, there was a dot that was put in the wrong place, and so it kicked back a lot. But we'll make sure you guys get copies of that.
Thank you.
Make sure you do.
Dante, there you go. Dante, I have 2 cards for
Yes,
you, but
can I speak twice? So one,
No,
the cannabis
it's
is
just
going to be,
public
and then
comment.
when you have the cup.
just
So
one
can I
public
get
comment.
6 minutes?
No,
Why not? It's a
it's
3.1.
it's on our agenda item, so it's public comment.
Okay, well, I was going to speak on the cannabis shop or that.
Well,
so
then that's your
Okay.
choice.
I'll choose this one. Okay, city staff, council members. I and many of my neighbors in Imperial Beach have questions. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor Dedina, council members West and Spriggs. The ordinance that you supported and passed last year required that pot shop number 1 has to operate a full 2 years to gather data and provide metrics and financial feasibility to report back to the city before a second pot shop number 2 can be even considered. Is that correct? If so, why are we even having the discussion tonight with regards to the amendment of our current cannabis ordinance? Please table this as an action item, make a motion that consideration to this new amendment will not be entertained until the reporting period has elapsed and all metrics have been performed according to the ordinance language. Parts of the original cannabis ordinance also required that the city report to the residents of Imperial Beach the impacts, whether positive or negative, on our quality of life and in keeping with the core mission of Classic IB. As of today, I, as a resident and homeowner, have not seen or heard any reports, nor the current status of the approved pot shop. Please advise. I am definitely opposed to any action approving a second pot shop and reducing the distance between schools to 600 feet. Unacceptable. And I still have some time, so I wanted to talk about an ordinance for city of Imperial Beach, and I'm hoping that there's some city council members here that have the courage to bring up this ordinance regarding managed retreat and the city of Del Mar. Thank you.
Good evening, City Mayor and City Council and City staff. I'm here representing San Diego Gaelic Athletic Association. My name is Tracy Rivera. I'm at 1239 Palm Avenue. My statement is very brief. I just want to thank City Manager Andy Hall and City Staff Courtney Stevens for jumping into action when we came to you with a near crisis, and we were able to avoid it. We held the Gaelic Games in Chula Vista, the Elite Athlete Center, and the rain threatened our event. We had over 350,000 miles of travelers traveling to San Diego to play in this tournament, and the facility was threatening to cancel. And I came to Andy, and he and Courtney jumped into action to see what the city of Imperial Beach could do to offer a solution. So thankfully we didn't have to cancel it, but I wanted to thank you in the bottom of my heart for the work that you guys did and what you guys put into it. So thank you.
Oh, you are.
Mayor Dedina, Councilmember West, Councilmember Spriggs, Councilmember Aguirre, or Councilmember Patton. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. My name is Eric Syverson, longtime resident of Imperial Beach. I appreciate the audience that we have here today. In terms of the CCC and the SLR, Councilmember Spriggs, the CCC produced an amazing document in November of 2018. I have been using that, and I am trying to produce a PowerPoint to offer 1 million adaptations for the city that they can protect and provide access and do other things. Beyond that, I'm here to talk about water, and I'm here to talk about specifically the value of polluted water. I heard Councilmember West and Mayor Dedina on KUSI last night speaking about various projects that Councilmember Aguirre indicated were discussed today. SB 690 by Ben Weso was one of them. The water rights for the Tijuana River watershed, the Tijuana River itself, were never defined or claimed by the Treaty of Hidalgo or the Treaty of Guadalupe. They are not defined or claimed today. You people continue to push projects and advocate for projects that call for the diversion, containment, and transfer of that water to the country of Mexico. This is the Surfrider TRV stakeholder plan. This is a plan you mentioned yesterday that you discussed with the new governor of Baja, Mr. Bonilla, who is a former Otay Water District president. This is a Western state, Governor. He will understand that prior appropriation is the guiding law for water rights in America. Once you divert, contain, and transfer water to the country of Mexico, you have abandoned any claim anyone has in the United States to that water. And as you also point out last night, that water with the drought in Baja California is beyond valuable at this point. For you to advocate for such projects at this time, for you to continue to send resources and money to Mexico is negligent and culpable in the people who have been poisoning us for my entire life. If you build these diversions, Mr. Bonilla will appropriate our water and then he will profit at it. And if you don't think I'm right, then Google Mr. Bonilla, Otay Water District, Fenton Parkway Reclamation Project, and tell me why you would take that man's word. Tell me why you would take that man's word. Tell me, tell me. You guys are messing up beyond belief. Beyond belief, Mayor.
Mr. Syverson, your phone right here. Thank you.
I'd like to ask future speakers to be.
I'll engage further past people.
Well, that was fun. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'd like to thank all of you for your continued support of the Imperial Beach Arts Bureau. We are coordinating an event this Saturday
across the street at Veterans Park. It's going to be a free music and arts event. It's going to go from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. We'd like to have everybody attend. We're still looking for volunteers, especially for setup and takedown. This is all volunteer work. And we're using county funds to do this with. So if you have any way to, if you want to contact us, we're at IB Arts Bureau on Facebook, and our email address is ibartsbureau2@gmail.com. So you can contact me or you can contact Courtney, and she knows how to get a hold of us. And we have flyers here if anybody needs one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have Mitch McKay, followed by Stephanie Gilreath, and then Laura Wilkinson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council, city staff. My name is Mitch McKay, 714 Holly Avenue, Imperial Beach. Long-term South Bay resident, property owner since 1990 in the city of Imperial Beach. Tonight, I wanted to ask you for two things. First, let me back up. Let me thank the mayor, Councilmember Aguirre, city staff for attending the Tijuana River Valley stakeholders meeting this morning. There was a lot of important people there that certainly can assist us in making some very difficult decisions and some very costly decisions. So I appreciate your time there this morning, and I wish there could have been a better outcome. I don't think we got the action plan or list that we hoped to, but hopefully that's in the near term. So again, tonight I wanted to ask you for two things. First of all, your undivided attention for the next 3 minutes. Actually, I'm probably down to 2.5. The second is, and I've discussed this with several council members via email and in person, with regard to the LCP and managed retreat. We heard from Steve Douche earlier, and we've heard from various members of the council, Mayor Dedina, City Manager Andy Hall, and such, that managed retreat will not be in our LCP. For those who had the opportunity to read the 22-page document from the California Coastal Commission, they seem pretty adamant about putting it back in. So what I would like to see, which has been done by the city of Del Mar, and I did bring a copy of their new ordinance, and I'll share it with Andy. We would like to see the city make a motion, someone on the council to make a motion to create a new ordinance that mimics or uses the Del Mar ordinance as a template to make a statement that the managed retreat will not be part of our LCP. We see the city of Del Mar has done it. We appreciate them taking a bold move and making that statement and putting that line in the sand. And I think the city of Imperial Beach, I think our residents and our taxpayers deserve the same thing. Again, several pages of the Coastal Commission's feedback specifically mentioned managed retreat, included suggested provisions to reassess in 5, 10, and 20-year intervals. Again, you guys have told us over and over again, we heard it again tonight, that it's not going to be in there, and we're going to hold you to that. So again, I'll provide a copy of this to Mr. Hall, and we hope to see some action in the future to make a similar move on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Good evening, Mayor Denita and council members.
Pull the microphone closer, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm short. I have, my main question is, I had an incident on Monday. The Sheriff's Department came out and they told me that per the city, they are no longer to enforce no parking in alleys. So it's Municipal Code Title 10, Chapter 44, 0.50. And so if anybody's parked in my alley, wherever they park, as long as they're not completely blocking the alley, they can't take it. People were blocking my drive. I couldn't pull out. They couldn't get up. So I'd like to know why.
I'm going to have to look into that and get back to you. Can I get your contact information, please? I would
Happy to.
appreciate that. Is it on
It's
that?
not here. Oh, yeah, your phone number is.
Okay.
Is that okay? Phone number?
Fine. At 619?
No,
Oh,
he's
don't
got
say
it.
it out loud.
He's
Take
got
it.
it.
Got in
He's
there.
got it.
Okay, I'm
We
sorry.
can't,
I'm
we
sorry.
can't
Is it
respond.
619?
No, write that down.
355-5555 or something.
And then my other thing, I know cannabis is no longer on the agenda. Just one quick thing. The Navy puts those places off limits. How much of IB is Navy? Think about that. Because it's not just the shop, it's that whole shopping center that they put off limits. So those places that are next to it are going to lose businesses.
Thank you, Laura Wilkinson. Okay. We have
I'll
Randall
say it.
Farrell. Randall. Is Randy here? Randall? Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Serge Dedina. How are you? This is in behalf of Siesta Trailer Park and being sold and being informed, and for the residents, what's going to happen with them because they're being pushed into the street by the management of Star Management. We're looking for legal representation helped by the city, which Tim Tatro is an attorney that we've contacted and spoke with a few times and been in person also. The management has done nothing for the people. We've been there 20 years. I've lived out here 45, went to high school in Coronado. I'm with Calvary Chapel IB right down the street. I've been with them 16 years. Also helped with Mr. Detective Mike Newman. We're seeking help, like emergency help. This has been going on for some time. They're supposed to have sold the property. It's not on county records, which is supposed to be when you sell property. I've had a realtor look into it. We're trying to figure out why. Jim Algert is the original owner and his family, which is Algert Engineering, lives at Coronado Caves. Beezer Homes are supposed to be the ones who bought that property and are going to redevelop it with 65 units. I've seen the blueprints personally. We want to know as renters why we're not being helped, policy and procedure, because they're being kicked in the street. They don't have no recourse, and that's not right according to renters' rights in HUD, Housing Urban Development, which is the state of California, in Sacramento, which I've contacted also. So there are a few other tenant or residents here tonight in this behalf. Who are we going to speak to or have some representation for the city of IB that's going to try to redevelop that property? That's mainly what we're seeking. And we don't want it to go to a lawsuit. We'd rather settle out of court. We don't want to have to go to that extreme. And if it's reasonable, either 50%, maybe 30% would be reasonable just to do that and move on as renters' rights. We're not seeking to have a lawsuit go on and on for maybe 5, 10, 15 years, like Mission Beach did. Tim Tatro was the attorney on that part. So, any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Farrell, there's a unique feature in California state law that mobile home parks are actually under the jurisdiction of the state of California. So what I will do, and I have your contact information here, I will get you in touch with the right people at the state. So,
excellent.
And that's who you want to be talking to. So let me get that to you, and I'll try to do that first thing in the morning. And I notice I have your phone number here, and you said all hours.
All hours, 24 hours. I work for doctors, emergency calls. I'm used to it, like 35 years now. So
I'm usually in bed by 9, and
it's all right. I'll wait.
8:30.
No, that's all right.
No, I'll get that to
You're
you.
reasonable. Yes, sir. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Corona. Do the rest of the folks want to speak as well? Okay. Are you Elizabeth Corona?
No, I'm not.
Are you going to get her? Okay. All right. Then I have Ana Rosa Castillo. Do you want to speak? You have to come up here. You can speak in. Se puede hablar en español, no hay problema. And then follow that, I have Fernando Corona and Lisa Marie.
Hola, buenas tardes.
No, my back. I'm sorry. I don't practice it even at home. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon.
Buenas tardes. Yo soy residente del 409 Pala Avenue de una Salvi.
She's resident. She's a resident also of the mobile park.
Si esta parte se llama aquí en la calle Cuarta. Tengo ahí viviendo como 6 años.
She's lived there for 6 years.
Y hace como unos 4 meses nos citaron para decirnos que iban a vender la propiedad.
They've notified us about 4 months ago they're going to sell the property.
Pero al parecer parece que ya la vendieron porque están sacando mucha gente.
It appears that they already sold the property because asked people to leave.
Entonces ahorita están con cualquier detallito, con cualquier cosa nos están queriendo correr. Entonces yo quería ver si había una forma de que algo se podía ampararnos de alguna manera para que no seamos desalojados así.
They are apparently looking for little areas or excuses to ask them to leave, seek help from the city.
De hecho, mi vecino es una persona que es homeless. Él le dan $800 y con eso paga su parque. Entonces él dice que él no puede irse a ningún lado, que él va a sacarlo de ahí la ciudad muerto porque él no tiene para dónde ir.
His neighbor actually has income of $20 a month, and he doesn't have. They stick around and somebody remove us from the company.
Y así como él hay muchos vecinos, yo quisiera, no sé, que hubiera algo de alguna manera que nos pudieran ayudar para con los dueños saber qué otra cosa se podría hacer.
Such as
Se los agradecería mucho, muchas gracias.
please any help. I can provide him. Yeah.
Gracias, señora.
Muchas gracias. Voy a
Habrá seguimiento por parte de Erica. Fernando Corona. And remember, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm a little nervous. It's the first time being here. Yes, I'm here in. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I have the same thing around me. I also live in Siesta RV Park, and I'm also a little concerned about the way they're handling the turnover. You know, apparently they might have sold the property, but they don't really accept to it. So now they have everybody kind of like in the limbo. I did have noticed. I've been there for 5 years, and I've been noticing a little bit of some kind of, I want to say, harassing from the management, trying to kick everybody out. Even, for example, myself, I have my little 2 kids, and the manager came to me the other day, and I always had a little, kind of like a little canopy for my kids, because, you know, usually with this summer, it gets really hot. And she sent me a letter saying that I need to take it out. And I told him I've been having this for a long time, but she's like, no, you need to take it out because you're not allowed to do that. So now it seems like they're kind of trying to find different ways to kick us out. And at the same time, I kind of put my family and myself in a limbo that, you know, what's going to happen, you know, and like I said, they're not really following the rules about the housing and everything. You know, it's just like they're trying to kick people out for small little things, or they kind of try to play a game. There was a neighbor, I mean, he was like my mom was saying, the particular neighbor that she was talking about, he's been there for like 15, 20 years. They tell him, hey, it's time for you to renew your contract. And when they renew the contract, they put a little slash in there saying that they can kick him anytime. So now he just received like a 2 or 3 months back his notice. So they're kind of trying to play that trick where like they're trying to kick everybody out, and I'm a little concerned about that.
Thank you so much. Again, city manager can follow up. And we have. Thank you. And then. Is there anybody else? Was your wife talking or speaking? No. Yeah. Mrs. Corona, you going to speak? Or not? That's all I had. And then Lisa, were you speaking? You want to speak? Okay. You have 3 minutes.
Well, girl with dog. My name is Lisa Marie, and I live at 3985 Preamble Place, Boise, Idaho. And I want to say thank you to each of you for serving. I am tremendously honored to be in your city. I was not planning on speaking tonight. I had an encounter with 4 Imperial Beach young children that was not going to turn out well, but turned out phenomenal, and we all changed each other's lives. I have been running for high elected positions over the last 6 years, and the reason why I landed your city is because I've been very disturbed with what's been going on our border and about how many children are missing in our country. Last year, in 2018, registered in the NCIC was 424,616 USA children missing under the age of 18 years old. That's an average of 1,161 children a day. And I'm pausing on that. This is my daughter, Cameron. If it wasn't for Imperial Beach, my daughter would be dead. Over the last 6 months, I've been able to be in your city on and off because my daughter lost her will to live. My daughter was molested by my son from age 4.5 to age 13. My son is currently a sheriff in the state of Idaho. I love my son, but my son is not stable to be a sheriff. We have a lot of issues in our country. And what I can say to you, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to give every ounce of energy that I can to your city. I invented an ingredient. I changed the outcome of the San Diego Chargers games in 2006 and 2007. I am big time in the NFL and Major League Baseball. And what I'm seeing in professional sports is appalling. Our children should not be mentoring after sports the way it is because I'm in the inside walls. I'm in the training rooms. The invention that I made, I took off the market 10 years ago to make sure that our children owned it. And we'll talk further. So God bless you, but I would definitely look at how many children are missing a day. It's a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That ends the public comment period of our city council meeting. And we have no additional speakers. Is that correct? No, we're done. Okay. Okay, and now we have item 1.1, Monarch Global Strategies update. And Michael Camuñas, president of Monarch Global Strategies, will give his presentation on the update on work going on in Mexico to discuss the water pollution issue. Thank you so much for being here.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for having me, and members of the council. It's a pleasure to be before you and in the city of Imperial Beach. I'm here on behalf of my firm. I'm the president and CEO of Monarch Global Strategies. We're a consulting and advisory firm that helps advise a range of institutions and entities, companies, and some government entities like the San Diego Association of Governments. We're based in Washington, Los Angeles, Mexico City, and Monterrey, Mexico. And we really have a specialization in helping our clients with public advocacy in Mexico. And we were retained, as you know, as a council by the city of Imperial Beach to help finally address this really serious issue of public contamination of the waters and the coastline in Imperial Beach as a result of the Tijuana River contamination. And I've been asked if I would come and make a brief presentation as to the nature of our engagement, what we've been up to, what your resources are going to support, and how we sort of see the situation. First, I want to say that as stewards of your public resources, we take very seriously our responsibilities. We're very honored to be representing the city, and we understand, just listening to today's presentation, that you have a lot of challenges and a lot of scarce resources to address, very serious problems. We want to be good stewards of that, of those resources and those and that contract to help you achieve an outcome that we hope will be extremely beneficial for the residents of this community. The contamination issues, I'm not going to get into in any substantial detail. I think they're well known to all of you. You live with them every day. They present serious public health problems and challenges. The waters are contaminated. This is a binational problem that requires a binational solution. It's also a problem that's been in existence and that's been around for many, many years. It's in part a result of inadequate infrastructure on the Mexican side of the border, as Tijuana has grown dramatically in response to the opportunities that have been created with the North American Free Trade Agreement and the booming economy that has benefited both sides of the border, frankly. There's been a lot of industrial development and the lack of infrastructure to keep up with that development. And as a result, a lot of industrial discharge and other contaminants getting into the waterways, eventually making their way into the river and out to impact both sides of the border. This is a problem, as you know, that affects both sides of the border. To solve a problem like this, which has been around for so many years, it really comes down to political will. And what the mayor, I think, has shown in his own leadership here in this city with your support is that sometimes it just takes political will to get a problem across the finish line. And this problem has been around for so long and it's gone unaddressed. And it was, finally time to try to shine a spotlight on the issue and bring some political attention to it. And so while the mayor and the city, along with the city of San Diego and the port of San Diego, have pursued litigation and other measures to try to bring attention to this issue, there's no question that the final and ultimate resolution is going to require a political intervention by the governments of Mexico at the federal level and the government of the United States and other relevant actors and subnational entities. So our focus as a firm has been, how do we help the city break through the bureaucracy in Mexico to really harness and focus that political will and get that political will developed to finally address this problem. We saw a significant opportunity with the recent election of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, a new president in Mexico who has a whole new set of priorities and a whole new set of objectives and broad-based public support. We also have a newly elected governor in Baja California, Mr. Bonilla, who previously, he has a long history, but most recently was the president's representative as superdelegate for the Baja California region. We also, as you know, have new leadership in California, a new governor of the state of California, and new leadership in Washington the last couple of years with President Trump. So we have a lot of new players, but we thought in talking to the mayor that the election of President López Obrador in particular created a significant opportunity for us to try to get this raised in the office of the presidency in Mexico in a way that it had not been done before. So our work to date has largely focused in the last few months on trying to make this contamination issue a political priority for the government of Mexico. And I'm very pleased to say I think we are succeeding in that effort. I told the mayor when he first approached us that this was not something that was going to happen overnight. This is an issue that's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of persistence and a lot of, it's like Michelangelo chipping away at the stone. We're going to liberate that beautiful image eventually, but it's going to take time to get there. And but I'm very pleased with the progress that we've made thus far. First of all, we have been able to reach the president himself. Monarch had a meeting with President López Obrador in which he committed to us that this would be a top priority for his government. In fact, during the meeting and then shortly thereafter, he was in touch with Mr. Bonilla, at the time senator, recently elected senator of Mexico, and now and then superdelegate, which put him in charge of federal resources for Baja California. Now that he's been elected governor, we think he's going to play an even more important role in combining those two functions. So I think the first thing is we've been able to engage and achieve, I think, a first step with the president, which is no small thing. I should back up and just say a little bit about who Monarch is so you have a sense of our background. We've been around for about 20 years. We've been operating under the name Monarch Global Strategies for the last couple of years. We went through a rebranding. We were founded by my partner, Ambassador Jim Jones, who was the U.S. ambassador to Mexico and served many years as ambassador and has stayed very connected to bilateral relations with Mexico. I served as the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce under President Obama, and part of my responsibility when I was Assistant Secretary was to manage the bilateral economic relationship with Mexico. So Ambassador Jones and I both have deep connectivity with the Mexican government. It comes through years of experience and a track record of bringing American companies and investment and opportunities to Mexico. We're viewed as a neutral party, as a honest broker, and a firm that has worked with sort of state-of-the-art projects in Mexico. Most recently, we were representing Parsons in the construction of the new international airport in Mexico City. As I mentioned, we represent the San Diego Association of Governments here locally on the construction of the Otay Mesa East project. We're working on a number of other initiatives across multiple industries and sectors that gives us a visibility and a profile in Mexico and a credibility to speak to the Mexican government. When we speak, I think they trust and know that we're really looking out for the best interest of both countries. And I think that gives us a certain credibility. So we've been able to reach the president. We've engaged his cabinet. Very pleased to say that we've had successive meetings with the foreign ministry, with the Undersecretary for North America. We were able to take Mayor Dedina to Mexico City and have a series of meetings that he was able to have with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, along with Councilmember Aguirre and others, as part of the San Diego Regional Chambers trip. As a result, I don't want to take credit for this, but I do think in no small part because of the president's commitment and the signal that he sent politically that this is a priority for him, there's been an interagency process that's been set up in the Mexican government for the very first time that's led by the foreign ministry. And we've been able to access that process, and we are in regular communications with the Director General and others in the foreign ministry who are leading that process. And I think that's a very good thing. We've also been working very closely with the new Mexican ambassador in Washington, Ambassador Bárcena, who has given us her personal commitment. Ambassador Jones and I both have met with her repeatedly and are in touch with her. I've been in touch with her these last recent days. As you all are aware, this is a very tense time in the U.S.-Mexico relationship. But I think despite the tensions, despite the migration issues, the so-called wall, the caravans, the NAFTA negotiations, and all of the distractions that are going on. These are not distractions in a classic sense, but they're complicated issues that are time consuming. Notwithstanding all of that, the fact that this cross-border contamination issue has been elevated and designated by the president as one of his top two priorities for Baja California, I think is a sign that we're making real progress in terms of obtaining the political will. So we've got, I think, our feet in the game. We've got the city well represented and well engaged in the process on the Mexican side in terms of getting the Mexican government mobilized. That's only part of the problem. The second issue, of course, is resources. And, we can have the best laid plans, but without real resources being brought to bear, we'll have to see. Today, as Councilmember Aguirre mentioned, there are a series of efforts that are going on concurrently, which we're also tapping into, led by the North American Development Bank, by the International Water Boundary Commission, and others that are looking at studying the problem and identifying priority projects to address the most critical issues. And we see our role in that process on behalf of the city is making sure that all of the issues are being addressed, that there's a comprehensive outcome that looks at short, medium, and long-term solutions. So we don't just want someone to come up with a short-term fix and move on to the next, and we have the same problems next year. We also don't want someone focused on long-term solutions that are going to take 5 or 10 years. And in the meantime, we've got, I was just looking, 48 days of closures of the beaches here locally year to date. That's unacceptable. And the people and the citizens of this community shouldn't have to suffer that. So we want to strike the balance in coming up with a master plan, a comprehensive solution that's going to address the short, the medium, and the long-term issues that are at play. So we've engaged the government at all levels. I should also mention, now that Mr. Bonilla has been elected, we've met with Mr. Bonilla previously when he was the superdelegate and when he was senator. Now that he's been elected governor, he has reiterated his support for this. Just today at the press conference, Mayor Falconer indicated that he had spoken today with Governor-elect Bonilla, and the mayor's statement was that the governor-elect had said that this is his top priority. That's consistent with what the governor-elect has communicated to us previously and what we expect him to do going forward. We're also trying to ensure, in addition to our own efforts, that the advocacy for this project gets elevated on a regional level. That starts with the state of California itself. While in Mexico City at the swearing in of the new president, I had the opportunity to sit and have lunch with Governor Newsom. We had a very nice lunch in which we discussed some of the state's primary challenges with Mexico and some of its top priorities. And I'm very pleased to say that the governor was very receptive and I think has since indicated strong support for this being part of a robust bilateral agenda between California and Mexico. And we've discussed with the mayor other strategies to engage Sacramento. You've heard references to Senator Hueso and some of the, I know that the Speaker Rendon and others have launched efforts to try to put this squarely on the agenda at the state level. That's all very positive. At the regional level, I think maybe for the first time, this has become a top regional priority when the San Diego Regional Chamber led a very large delegation of about 200 business leaders from the region down to Mexico City. We were part of that trip, and we were also able to help ensure that this issue was firmly on the agenda. There were meetings with CONAGUA, the Mexican Water Authority, and others. So the good news is you're building political will on the Mexican side. You're building a coalition of stakeholders on this side, regionally and at the state level. And you've got the relevant stakeholders now at the table working in a coordinated way to identify specific projects that will carry, a specific price tag. But for the first time, the specific projects are being identified that will, we think, result in, we hope, we'll keep pushing for a comprehensive master plan or solution to address this. Another thing that we've been able to do, as you heard, the mayor will be traveling tomorrow to Los Cabos to attend a conference of mayors event with the foreign minister and the president himself. And as a result of our advocacy, we were able to help ensure that Mayor Dedina was one of just 40 U.S. mayors that were invited to participate in that conference. And that will give him an opportunity to continue to push with Mayor Falconer this issue with the foreign minister and with the president himself, the president of Mexico, when they meet in Los Cabos this week. So that gives you a bit of a snapshot of what we've been trying to do in a very short time to try to mobilize a constituency, elevate this in Mexico in a very significant way, try to help support get the Mexican government organized, and to ensure that the political will from the top penetrates the bureaucracy so that we end up with an outcome that's hopefully in the long term acceptable to all parties. In terms of the next steps, just briefly, Mr. Mayor, what we hope to do over the next few weeks and months is we will continue to engage NADBank in particular and SILA, which is the Mexican counterpart to the International Water Boundary Commission, to ensure that any reports that come out reflect the concerns and priorities of the city and of this community, so that we don't end up in a situation where the recommendations aren't aligned in some way with the way we see the problem. And we'll be taking a trip to San Antonio to see the head of the NADBank at the recommendation of the Mexican ambassador. I happen to know Mr. Hinojosa well from prior experience, and we saw his deputy today, the EPA meeting. So I think that will be an important next step. We're also going to keep pressure on the interagency process on the Mexican side. They're meeting regularly, but they've assured us that they will allow us to participate actively as appropriate in that process, to have input in the process, and to get reports out on that process. And finally, we are going to see if there is a role for the private sector in all of this. We've had conversations, preliminary conversations, with OPIC, the Overseas Private Investment Corporation. OPIC has designated about $2.5 billion in resources to support private sector investment in Mexico. And we'd like to see some of that money, if possible, come to this area to support a private sector play on whether it's wastewater treatment facilities in a binational context or recycling efforts to recycle and reuse some of the storm water that's discharged for purposes of rerouting some of that water for agricultural purposes and other things. And as I said, our overarching mandate is to ensure that we come out of this with a series of short, medium, and long-term solutions that are acceptable to the leadership of the city, as well as to the people who are ultimately paying the price, both with their health, with closure of their beaches and the loss of use of their beautiful and pristine beaches, and of course with the price tag supporting monetarily the effort that's going into this. Let me just conclude by saying, again, we take this responsibility very seriously. It has the full support of my entire firm. Ambassador Jones and I are personally engaged in this as well as the entire members of our team. I said to the mayor early on, there will not be a short-term fix here. I wish I could tell you that by November, when our contract ends, we'll be able to roll out a beautiful list of accomplishments. That's not the way that a problem this complex, this severe, that has festered for so many years gets resolved. But what we do hope is that we will have a lot of good progress to show, and we'll be well en route to a final solution that I think everybody can live with and be happy. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for the update and also being at the meeting today. We really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
That update and all the work you've been doing. So I'll leave it to council members. Mr. West, did you press the button?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make it real quick because I know we got a lot of things to go for, but I really appreciate all the work you did. I obviously saw when I was down in Mexico City the work you were able to really get us into the right doors. But I'm gonna be working on this project, working on this for 15 to 20 years now. It seems like I think our entire city is tired of hearing about studies.
Yeah,
we need action, and it's really been it's just every time I come from a meeting, it's like we're going to do another study on this. And if I hear that again, I may scream. So thank you very much for doing all the things you're doing. And I know you're opening up the doors, and I appreciate you really getting the mayor into this meeting this weekend, because this could be huge, but no more studies. We really want action.
No, that's very much our focus. We need action, not just analysis. This has been overanalyzed.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Just a couple quick comments as well. I want to personally thank you for your efforts and having participated in these meetings with you. And thank you so much for pushing, because you really are, and I think it really is making a difference. Second, this interagency, that working group that you're mentioning, I think it's huge that we're allowed to have a snapshot of what they're doing, because it'll tell us what projects or priorities they're working on, internally in Mexico. And then thirdly, I think that there's no doubt political will is everything. We can put all the infrastructure we want and can on our side, but at the end of the day, this pollution is coming from Mexico. And if they don't have the political will to fix it, as we've seen for the last 6 years under Governor Vega, we won't get anywhere. So it's a very delicate balance that we have to manage here. It's either pushing or making sure that we don't push too far to where we have zero action, as we've had in the last 6 years. So I am cautiously optimistic. And again, I want to reiterate my appreciation to you and to the firm for all of your efforts. And yeah, let's see what happens in the next term. Thank you.
Councilmember Spriggs.
Same thing. Thank you so much for your efforts and in this progress report. Very, very succinct and very clear. There are a lot of moving parts, especially when we don't have one of the biggest moving parts that should be involved here, which is the federal government in a positive relationship with Mexico. I've worked for many years in international economic development with USAID. I've done a lot of projects, including capital projects, some of them about this size. And this is not rocket science. There's a lot of different perspectives, a lot of moving parts, but this is basically a water and sewer infrastructure project to catch up to where the population is and to address some of the issues that have been discovered, in the meantime, like, for example, stormwater and the need for a separate stormwater approach that doesn't take stormwater into the sewers. This is all basic stuff. So my hope is that, and my colleagues on the council have been doing a great job. They're much more directly involved in this issue than I am. I'm more directly involved in other issues than they are. This is the way we work as a council. But my hope is that by the time we get a new perspective coming out of Washington in a year and a half, that these infrastructure plans that you're working towards, these projects, will have come to the point where there are various pieces of financing available, Inter-American Development Bank, North American Development Bank, I should say, and others, and that all that's needed is a federal push to get it done. So that's my hope in terms of the success of your efforts, even if it isn't completed within the next year and a half, that at least things will be ready to go. All that's missing is that U.S.-Mexico bilateral agreement to make it really happen. So wish you all the best.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And so additional comments, or I want to thank you. So I was in the room with you in the Foreign Ministry of Mexico, a pretty impressive chamber where I'm assuming heads of state have been. We were with the chief of staff of the foreign minister, as well as Ambassador Chacon, who's at that time, he's in charge of all of North America for the Mexican government at the time, was dealing with a crisis related to NAFTA. And he made time to meet with us, which, you know, I've been working in Mexico a long time, but I've never had those types of meetings. And so I appreciated the fact that you didn't pull any punches. You did it in a very diplomatic way. You made it really clear to Mexico that they needed to spend their own money, that there was no help coming from the United States, and that given the complexity and sort of issue of NAFTA, they needed to show some good faith effort. So I wanted to just make that clear to the public and to our constituents that we're not going to Mexico and saying, don't worry about it, don't need to do anything, we understand you don't have any money. It was more of that very clearly laid out that Mexico has an obligation to fix this problem. And we really appreciated that perspective. And again, having worked in Mexico for a long time, I appreciate how hard it is to have a meeting with the president of Mexico. I appreciate how hard it is to have a meeting with the ambassador of Mexico. And so, you know, your firm has really elevated this game. This issue to a point that we never could have before. Second, I really appreciate the continued communication from your entire team. The minute they have meetings, we have detailed memos and updates on what's happening. So I really appreciate that as well. And it's very clear that this issue is at a completely different level. And, you know, being able to travel tomorrow with Mayor Faulkner and hopefully meet and talk, well, I'll be meeting with the foreign minister as well as hopefully the president, is something that, again, I'm not sure many small town mayors will be there, you know, have the opportunity. The mayor's president, or the mayor of Los Angeles, the mayor of Montreal, the mayor of Mexico City. You know, these are not like small town beach mayors are there. So I really appreciate that. And it really demonstrates the good faith effort that we've made with the government of Mexico. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, members of the council, happy to come back anytime to answer any questions you may have. We'll keep you apprised. And let me just close by thanking the mayor himself, because without the mayor's leadership and willingness to take the fight to whoever is needed to tango with to get this problem fixed, a lot of these things wouldn't happen. And I can tell you from my own private conversations with leaders in Mexico at the highest levels, the mayor is very highly respected. He's a person of integrity, and I think everyone understands that what this is about is, you know, basically taking care of people on both sides of the border who deserve better. So thank you for your leadership, sir, and look forward to.
Just one last thing, yeah, and just we will make sure we check every box and have every meeting and meet every person possible. So I know that we had some doubts about that, whether or not it was, and we're here to say that, and I gave that speech today. It's like we all have to do better and do what we're not doing. And I appreciate you laying out, hey, don't miss this opportunity to have a meeting with someone and lay out a new strategy. So I get it. I really appreciate you guys pushing that. We totally get it. Yeah, excellent. We can't afford to miss anything right now. So thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. Good evening.
Okay, now we have consent calendar items 2.1 and 2.4. I'd like a motion to, we get a motion to approve consent calendar items numbers 2.1 through 2.8.
So second.
Actually, 2.1 to 2.4. What do I have?
Yeah.
There's a mistake
2.4.
here. Yeah. Thank you. Hey guys, don't leave. We're going to do the skateboard thing
Yeah,
now.
don't leave.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be held right now. The motion.
Damn skaters.
Second vote.
Please vote.
I know, I'm hungry. I should have ordered pizza.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thanks everyone for their patience. Great. And now we have item 4.5, public hearing on resolution 2019-843, adopting the municipal budget for the fiscal years 2019-21 and 2019-20 and 20-21. The public hearing is open. Deputy City Manager Cortez will give the report.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. Thank you very much for your civic engagement. I feel special. This is the most we've had for budget. So I feel like I want them to autograph the budget. We should have ordered pizza. So in like that, I'm going to be sensitive that we have a large crowd. I'll be as brief as possible. This presentation has been provided a number of times at budget workshop, outreach, so I'll summarize it. This is in our municipal budget fiscal year 2021. We had some guiding principles. The first one we wanted to present to you is obviously prepare balance, seek community output, which we did. We had an open house on the 29th. May 15, we had a budget workshop and community outreach twice, and then tonight, the consideration of adopting the final budget. The municipal budget revenues current is about 33.4. The expense is 34. This is because the internal services, these are basically services that service departments have fund balances, so we're going to take it from there. So it's literally a balance is set off. Our major revenue sources are these. However, I want to point out that property tax, franchise tax, and Port of San Diego are basically stable sources. The other ones are economic dependent. The city administration has been, the organization, it has been split in three. So we have the city manager who handles the public safety, our assistant city manager, Steve Dush, who is also the community development department director, handles all the community development and physical plan, and then I handle all the administration. So this is a snapshot of that group together. Our fund balances are updated. These are a little different from what we have presented to you in the budget workshop. The reason is because we got a handle of our final draft audit 1819, which gives you the ending balance, and we were able to reconcile those. It's important to point out, though, that the unassigned reserve has dropped from the estimated 38% to 34%, and this is specifically due to Monarch Consulting election districts that we weren't anticipating, and then assistance to the Boys and Girls Club. The economic uncertainty stays at 9.5 currently. These two are council policies. So in summary, the general fund grew by 387,000. So one of the things that we had to do to balance the budget is obviously do not reduce public safety. That includes sheriff, lifeguards, and fire department. We had to combine some positions or look at vacancies, which cost a reduction of 292,000. These are the internal services funds that I was referring to. Basically, they're funds that service internally all the departments. The next item that I want to address is the capital improvement program. Is he here? Great. For those of you who don't know, this is part of your budget. It's one of the few last pages of your budget. It's important to highlight, though, that this does not appropriate funds. It basically identifies plans. So it's a 2-year implementation, 2021. What are they? They're capital projects. These are the ones that are anticipated to be addressed in fiscal year 20. And these are the ones that are anticipated to be addressed in fiscal year 21. At the May 15 workshop, the City Council provided some direction to staff to delay some of the alley improvements and increase some of the escape park funding. However, it is very important for our management to continue to seek funding for both projects. So we're going to do our very best effort to maintain both of them within the next 2 years. So some of the items for consideration is Adoption Resolution 2019-8043, which will approve the fiscal year 2021 municipal budget, approve the fiscal year 2021 capital program, and also, it's a long word, so I'll just say the GAN limits. Or the City Council may also adopt the resolution, direct staff to modify the resolution, or direct staff to provide information at a June 19 meeting. that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
So I thank you so much. I know we have a lot of IB's youngest residents who have been patiently waiting to communicate their input on our budget, which is really impressive to have lots of kids here. I know they've been pretty loud, so yeah, please.
I can barely hear.
Yeah, we could hear them. So if you could invite them in, it'd be great.
All I hear over there.
But we have quite a few speakers, and I want to thank everybody who sent emails. IBAC, I know we got lots of emails, 18 emails, and then we have lots of speaker slips. So.
Ready?
Really proud of you guys. Really, really impressive to see. So excited to see all you guys here. Thank you so much. You've been so patient. You've behaved so well. You teach a lot of our adults on behavior. So anyway, we have the number of people who have asked to speak. I'll call you guys up and then you can get in line, and then no more than 3 minutes a person. The shorter the better. Just get to the point and let us know what you'd like. But we know a lot of you here to advocate for a skate park. And I know that a lot of you have been here a lot time before, and it was really the effort of you guys. And I know Dakota, you were here, and some of your buddies were here as well, and some of you were here before. And then Mrs. Archer, who has been an advocate. We really appreciate that. And I think it's important for you guys to be involved in your government and your city. So I appreciate it. I know I talked to some of you yesterday. So you guys were awesome. So anyway, Veronica Archer, if you'd like to come up, and then Veronica will be followed by Dakota. Dakota, if you just want to stand by the wall so we can, it'll be Dakota, Esteban, and then Christopher Osorio.
Mayor, council, just so you know, there's a lot more kids here, but they had to go because they had to skate home before it got dark.
Good. Yeah, we had more speakers tonight, public speakers, than ever in our entire council history. So I'm so sorry.
So I'm Veronica Archer. I'm the lead of the Imperial Beach Skate Park Improvement Committee, which we renamed Friends of IB Skate Park because it's easier. Since the last time I was in front of you, except for Miss Paloma, the Friends of the IB Skate Park has reached out to the community of Imperial Beach to get feedback regarding which improvements they want. We did this through surveys at different community events, and it basically kind of comes down to two things: an expansion and noise abatement. There's a lot of other things, but those are our two main components. So we now have the opportunity to address both those community priorities with an updated park design. The goal is to accommodate more users while providing noise reduction. Skate park design and technology has come a long way since our park was completed. And some of us did actually take a field trip to some of the other parks looking at Linda Vista. And there's a lot of things that we can plagiarize. I mean, it's already been done. So we just need to take that and apply it to our park. So the skate park is the most frequently used park in our city, especially during beach closures. The park gets so crowded with people of all ages that a lot of our skaters leave the park. They go and they start skating private property. They skate at Pier Plaza. They're skating in the streets. And they're now breaking the law. And that's because we as adults and as community leaders have basically failed them. We have not given them a safe place to congregate and skate and to do their sport. They are truly the underserved community in Imperial Beach. So from the inception of our current skate park, there was supposed to be an expansion. And instead, we got a fence. Okay, and so I'm asking that you please provide funding for design improvements so our youth have a safe place to skate and congregate and have their community, while we also address the concerns of our neighbors of that neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Dakota? Dakota will be followed by Esteban Zatarain.
I wasn't aware I was going to come up here to speak, but I think I can speak for a lot of people that skate at the skate park. And I think we honestly just would like to see our finished park because we are like it never finished, and it'd be nice just to see it finished just so we can skate with all our friends. I mean, skating really has brought us a lot of things, not just another thing to do, but it's like a community. It's another community within IB that a lot of people wouldn't understand, and it's just kind of nice to see that experience.
Thanks, Dakota. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Esteban? Put the microphone down. There you go.
I just wanted to say that I've lived in IB for a year, so I've like heard a lot of things about like people are gonna make the skate park bigger, and I've been waiting for it, and nothing's happened, so I'm like confused. But now that we're trying to fund this, I guess we're trying to fund it. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Christopher Osorio. Christopher will be followed by Evan Rodriguez. And then Charlotte Paris.
Hi, good evening, City Council of Imperial Beach. My name is Christopher Osorio, and I'm here to dedicate my time towards the IB expansion. I feel like we can get an expansion towards our skate park because this is our soul and our passion, and most skaters really like it. And usually the skate park is too small, in my opinion, because I see a lot of skaters that fill up the park, and a lot of people get snaked. And I just really hope that it gets an expansion, because not only is it for me and for other riders, but we can also build bonds with our expansion, and bonds promote better friendships and getting new friends. The expansion can also promote, instead of being inside playing video games and watching TV, it can promote us being active and having a healthy lifestyle, that doing our sport, which is skating. And to finish off, I really hope that our expansion works and you guys have the time to expand our skate park. And thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for that excellent speech. Evan Rodriguez.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Evan Rodriguez, and I believe an expansion to the IB skate park is necessary. We have a small skate park with many people going daily. A bigger park would give us a new area to skate, as we don't have many in Imperial Beach. We need a new area to skate because we often get harassed for skating in public areas. I believe it would bring the community closer and keep skaters off the streets. It would promote good behavior and bonds with other people. In conclusion, I believe we need an expansion to the skate park because it would bring the community closer and it is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Charlotte Paris.
I think we need a bigger skate park because we see a lot of people skating on the street, and I think that maybe we should get a bigger skate park so we wouldn't have to if we're driving, we wouldn't have to stop on the road, and if someone's skating on the street. I think, yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, are you Alexine? Good. Go ahead.
We want our skate park bigger because then not much of the skating people. I want our skate park bigger because that way none of the skateboarding people doesn't have to go leave.
Yes. Thank you. We have Zeke Evans. Thank you. Is Zeke here? Ezekiel Evans. Lutisha Paris. Is Lutisha? Oh. Jake. Is it Jake Barrero? Is Jake Barrero here? Thanks for coming, Jake. We had a nice talk yesterday. I appreciate you being here.
I've been skating at those skate parks since I was like 11, I think, and I've been hearing about an expansion since the fence came up, and it'd be really nice to see one. Cause like this is what's bringing around me and my friends in my community. Anything that I can't really say anything that's already been said, but everything that they've said I back up. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
Jonathan O'Neill. Jonathan will be followed by Esteban. Oh no, I already had that. Okay. Jonathan, and then, yeah, Jonathan's left. Okay, great.
I think we need an expansion to the skate park because, well, you can like get a job off skateboarding, and it would be nice to have a bigger skate park so we can like train more, and like also it'll keep us out of the streets because you don't want us like hanging out in the streets, ruining properties just because we want to skate, and the skate park's not big enough for all of us. That's it.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Really appreciate all you guys and all your great comments. I'm just going to make sure we go through the cards here. There were a lot of people. Glenn and Lucas Arms support the skate park. James Fowler. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What's your name?
Lucas wants to talk.
My name is Lucas, and we should have bigger fencing is because some people can get snatched by strangers. And I don't know how to say it, but bye.
All right, thanks. James Fowler is in favor of the skate park. Jacob Fowler is in favor of the skate park. Chris Bragg, thank you, Chris, for being here. Grandma would be proud of you. Had a nice talk to you today. Lico Rios is in favor of the skate park. Sean Briscoe, legendary Sean Briscoe, is in favor of the skate park. I believe these parks promote physical and mental well-being for the youth and adults that use them. Thank you, Sean. Logan Archer, please expand the park. The legendary Logan organized a lot of the kids to come tonight. Thank you, Logan. Gunner says we want an expansion. Bo Briscoe, I love skating because it's fun. Thank you, Bo. Andres Jimenez says skating is life. Ty Travis is supporting the skate park. Joe Aguilar says, I love skateboarding. I want skateboard expansion. I can't read the rest. Okay. Alejandro Ibanez, whose nickname is Tarzan, says, I love the skate park because it helps me with peace. I think we need more space because a lot of people come. Thank you. Patrick Evans says bigger skate park. I'm not sure what the name was. Evans, Zeke Evans, bigger skate park. Jet Archer, I am 8, I love to skate.
Made it rhyme.
Eileen Coigan, I think, wants skate park expansion. Peter Ramsier says, my 12-year-old Jack loves the park, but I'd like to see it expanded, make it bigger for the kids so we don't have to travel. Yeah, I understand that. I went all over Southern California with my kids. Kendra Briscoe, another Briscoe, we'd like expansion. We would like an expansion of the skate park. Our children deserve a safe place to skate. I volunteer my time on clean up and physical exercise is key for a healthy lifestyle. The Briscoes are definitely prime example of healthy lifestyle. Thank you. Noah Ramirez, I would like the skate park to finish the expansion because it's a little tight and keeps away bad decisions. Okay. Manuel Escobedo, I would like the skate park to finish the expansion to keep kids from doing bad decisions. I have a place to stay in shape. That's good. We want you to be in the Olympics too. Julian Rankin says, please expand the park, finish expanding the park because it wasn't finished. It helps kids get off the streets and keeps them occupied. Lucas Farron is in favor of the skate park. Jaden is as well, I'm not sure the last name. KN. Trenton Roebuck is in favor, and Keegan Becker. I would like to see skate park finished. Thanks everybody for those comments. I have 18 different emails and communications. I want to thank the IB Athletic Club, IBAC, for supporting this. A lot of your members, a lot of old school IB locals, legends in IB, send us emails. We really appreciate that. Lots of parents. You can read those here, but all 18 emails are in favor. I know Mary Stone was concerned about noise, and I know that'll be an issue that'll be discussed. So anyway, I want to thank all the skaters for coming out. You guys are so respectful and giving your input. And so right now we're going to have to discuss this item. So we're going to talk a little bit and then we'll take a vote. So anyway, I want to make sure you guys are patient. I know you were more well behaved than a lot of the adults that come here as well. So I'm really proud of you guys. Sean, you can come up here. Thanks, Sean, and thanks to Sean's a state lifeguard. We appreciate all the work you do every day on our beaches, Sean. So anyway, great. Okay, with that, I think any more public comments? Great. The littlest and most awesome group of IB resident, IB local. So great. City council discussion. Mr. Patton.
Yeah, fantastic group. I've never seen anything like it in 6 years, and so this is great. So the mayor and I, along with Miss Archer, we took that field trip to Linda Vista Skate Park. I don't know how long ago was it? Over a year ago.
Yeah.
And what we saw there was a phenomenal skate park with a lot of things that we could put into our skate park. And what I liked most about that skate park was the community. And I heard community from a number of kids in here that built. We were walking around talking to skaters, and so many people, well, a lot of people were from different locations, but they were happy to talk to us and tell us about what they like about the park, what they like about the ramps, everything. So, you know, I met a pro surfer from Oceanside that drove all, and they have a network. It's called, I don't know, something on the phone, Twitter or something like that. So they have this thing, and they all communicate and say, hey, let's all meet here. And they all meet there. And so they do that quite often, apparently. And it's just whatever the skater group it is. And I thought that was pretty cool. So a couple of things I want to look at for the skate park. Well, first of all, if done right, this will be a great park. And so noise abatement, and then I heard Miss Archer talk about that. And we have to look at, what is that going to look like? Do we have to reinvent the wheel, or are there other skate parks doing noise abatement to make it less noisy for neighbors? Is it going to be trees, shrubs, walls? And we'll do our research on that. But we also have to look at the safety of, say, the sheriff. So is this wall or these shrubs, could people hide in there? So there are other things we have to look at. There's just not just put a wall up and it's going to be great. So there's other factors we have to look at. Another thing, and I got a couple emails from neighbors. In fact, I walked on 5th Street today, which is parallel with a skate park. And I walked along next to the houses. And really all I heard was the skateboards, some clicking, some clacking, and it wasn't bad at all. But the problem is at nighttime, when the park is closed, there's a lot of people that go there. None of these guys and girls, but they go there and party. They hang out and they party. So, you know, I think we're paying good money for the sheriff. In fact, our sheriff's rates went up. I think the sheriffs need to make nightly patrols out there and make it zero tolerance. Like, if you go there and party and you're caught, you're arrested. And the word will get out that this is not the place to be. Because I don't think it's fair for the neighbors that live there that they have to listen to that. I know I'd be beside myself. I'd be going over there going, and then I'd get myself in trouble. And it's not my job to be a sheriff.
So zero tolerance and making sure the sheriff go there often. And I know the sheriff's busy, and I get it, but there's times they could drive through with a spotlight. They see people breaking the law, arrest them. Word will get out, believe me. And so if we do those two things, the noise abatement, we build a great park, we make sure it's zero tolerance for partying at nighttime, it's going to be win, win, win. And I hope we could do this soon. And I know Mr. Mayor's behind it. I'm on the Friends of IB committee. I didn't know we changed the name. I didn't get the memo. So I look forward to doing this more. And I look forward to hearing my colleagues and to hear what they have to say. Thank you.
No, Mr. West.
Sure, why not?
This is a budget hearing as well.
I know. I just want I want to thank all of you for stealing our budget discussion, and we get to talk about skate parks because this is way better than the budget. I just want you to know that. So, my little sister, who has been in the skating industry for a long time, works with Grindline, and we had Grindline come out and look at our park, and they were some of the original designers of the park. So we really want to make sure that we are doing the right things. And I can't believe how honored I was to hear you guys actually talking about noise abatement, because that's usually the skaters are like, we just want a bigger park. But no, you understand that this has to be part of the community to make it better. So we can do all these things. I mean, the wall that the Boys and Girls Club, the sports park wall that's right there is really an echo chamber for our neighbors. So we really got to figure out, that's going to be something that we're going to have to grow something on, or there's some sound absorption things that we can put on there to really make it good for it. So could you bring up this slide before this slide there, Deputy Manager Cortez?
This was the first slide.
Go down to the last one then. Keep going. Oh. Yeah, so this one. So I'm interested. Next slide, next one.
That's the end of the slide.
Okay. I think I would like to see, we're talking about doing this in fiscal year 21. Is there any way that we can get this skate park? I know we have to design it, but can we get this going
I think you're referring to this list.
That's it. Yes. Thank you so much. So I would like to see if there's any way that staff, we can get something designed and move forward on a little bit more accelerated pace. Because I think obviously our community is dying for this more than anything we could have. So I think as long as we're dealing with our, sewage problems, we need to provide another outlet for our children and for our kids to be out there. So I'd like to see us if we can accelerate this to be, I know I'm pushing the limit there a little bit, and but I'd like to see us get working on this sooner than later.
No, that actually, I think, leads into a little bit of an explanation about the capital improvements program. Again, these are the projects that you've asked us to work on in the next 2 years. And we try to sign those out with, the staff resources that we have, the money resources that we have. I think we want to move on this as quickly as we can. It might take some time to design and whatnot, but there's no necessary dates. I think what we've tried to do is tell you that basically the projects we're going to try to work on in the next 2 years.
Great.
And so, yeah, if you guys want us to make sure that this is a priority and one of the first things we're working on, that's what we'll do.
I'd love to see that. I think.
But we do want to make sure we do community outreach. I think at least some of the concerns and complaints that I've heard before is that in some respects, the park that's there now was put in and designed and thought by, some people that it wasn't completed and whatnot. So we want to make sure we get community outreach and do justice by the people that are going to use the park.
No doubt.
If you leave it to me, I'm going to put in a roping arena and something, because I don't. So yeah, exactly.
All
So
right.
just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. But yeah.
Sounds great. I think sooner than later, and I think the rest of the council probably agrees. And also, I think that we are going to have to go through a design process, and I'm very excited to get the input from from all you guys. Like Dakota, you can talk to me in the water, and we can definitely design some. So I appreciate that. But I'm going to bore you now, so I'm going to go to a little bit of the 2-year implementation schedule. Andy, do you have this document by chance?
I did not bring it in with me, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so I am looking at the numbers on our strategic capital and our public works capital.
Okay.
And I am Could you explain the difference between the strategic capital and our public works capital?
Sure.
Sorry, this is really
This is a slightly different model of it, but at least shows it. So some time ago, the city council divided what was once a capital projects fund into two different sections. One would be the traditional, what you would think of as a capital improvements program, where you're doing capital projects in the city, like skate parks or roads or any kind of capital projects, sidewalks, any of those kinds of things. And they split that into strategic capital. And the reason for that was they wanted to have a fund that if they took some money, they would want to get some in return on investment. So they wanted to take some of the money and not just put it into traditional capital projects, but rather put it into projects where if you invested a certain amount of money, you could expect to get some return. And the vernacular they used for that was the strategic capital and the public works capital. And that's my understanding why it was done before I got here, but that's my understanding of why that split was made.
The reason why I'm
okay.
That's the reason why I'm asking is because one, as a master's in public administration, I don't remember us ever having most of the cities and all my classes that I took, I don't remember us having two different, a capital for public works and a strategic capital. So I'm a little confused. And then I called a lot of our other cities around the county, and they don't have a split up of these two. So and when we had a discussion in your office, you said that there seems to be some confusion among the staff on what really counts as a strategic capital and what's a public works capital. And can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, there's not real clear definition sometimes. And so we want to make sure that
I looked in all of our information, and I couldn't find anything that defines what a strategic capital and what a public works capital is.
So we just want to make sure that, because again, it's when you talk strategic capital, what is your return on investment? And is it dollar returns, or is it opportunity costs, or some of those kinds of things? So, if the city council wanted to provide some, I think, more in-depth or more definition to that, I think that might make it a little bit easier to make sure that we are identifying projects that are consistent with the strategic capital and consistent with the public works capital. Because again, we want to make sure that we are following the policies and recommendations of the city council. And right now, there's not a lot of definition on this.
I'm kidding.
Soon?
Yeah, I am. Thank
Very
you
soon?
very much. No, it's going to be a little bit of time, but I'm going to get there. So I'm interested.
A lot of time?
It's time that's important. Because I want to try to get more money for the skate park. I think that these two funds here are causing a little confusion, and I would like to see us combine these two funds and make it to where we put a cap of $1.5 million of a emergency fund for one capital improvement fund, and then take some of that leftover money and maybe put it more the money that's left over onto our skate park, so we can get from the $778,000 and more closer to $1 million or something like that. And I would like to see maybe that part of that could go to, so we don't lose all of the alleys, that we keep a few of the most the worst alleys, and we pave those as well. So I think there's ways we can do, if we combine these two funds, that we can expand the skate park and do out.
Okay. I mean, that's certainly a policy discussion and decision by the members of the council.
I'd like to open up for a discussion.
Does it need to happen tonight? Is that what? No, we just need direction. So what it's, again, staff is hearing from, and this might be some of the confusion that we had in the last meeting. We're hearing from one council member that he would like to combine the strategic capital and the public works capital. If all the council would like to do that, it's certainly your prerogative. You could do that. If a majority of the council wants to have the two separate funds where we're taking some of our money and putting it in strategic projects and the rest of it putting in capital projects, you could do that as well. This is your prerogative as council members, how you want to program this. There's no wrong or right way. This is the way it's been done in our community for at least 6 or 7 years. At
Part
least
of the
the time
reason
I've
why
been.
I'm confused with this, and I have to admit, is I would call the skate park a strategic capital investment. That is investing in our most important thing is our kids. It provides a way. My little sister travels all over the United States going to these skate parks. We build the right skate park, that's going to create more money coming to our community because people are going to travel to it. So, and that brings businesses to all our restaurants, all our hotels. And I think I see this as a way to really make this, we can really build the best park, streamline our capital to where the staff understands that there's one fund there, and do some outings. I think we can get this done.
So could we come back with maybe at a future council meeting, just an alternative sort of budget and with just one fund to see what that would look like?
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. Councilmember Aguirre. Oh, did it get canceled? Okay, go ahead.
First, as a matter of sort of how we're dealing with this, this particular item, the skate park and funding and design and all of that, I would suggest we have a discussion on that first before we get into the other budget items. I have a number of things I wanted to discuss. 3 points based on the budget generally and where we are, where we're going, and some of the challenges. But I think that, everybody really concerned about the skate park issue, and maybe we ought to deal with that first. I don't know. As far as the Strategic Capital Fund is concerned, this was something that we conceived, I would say, probably about 6 years ago. And the idea was to, when we had reserves, to set aside some money that could be used to help the city specifically generate revenue. So that, because right now, if you stayed throughout the whole budget discussion, you'd see that the city has a real revenue versus expense problem, because expenses are going up and fast, and the city has had to reduce some staffing, and these are good times. What happens in the bad times? So we really do need to look as a council and a community at how do we increase our revenues very directly and specifically. So one of the things that a strategic capital fund was conceived to be able to do would be to invest in, and there is overlap here, in the kind of public infrastructure that would be sort of like supporting a public-private partnership, where maybe we're getting a development in that's going to produce TOT or sales tax or other revenues to the city. But to really make it happen, we have to provide some funding. Maybe it's infrastructure improvements, maybe it's some sort of a loan, maybe it's some unforeseeable way of using an investment pool in order to create benefits for the community, services, resources, whatever the community needs, but also that generate revenue. Because no other city has it, doesn't mean that it's not a good idea or something that Imperial Beach could be a leader on and have. And we have some unique problems that other cities don't have. We have one of the lowest per capita incomes and lowest per capita sales tax sources of revenue of any city. So we need to be creative about looking for ways that we can raise revenue, which is a big subject for tonight's budget discussion. But in connection with this specific issue, that's why we had the Strategic Capital Fund. My thought on the skate park is we need to move it up in priority, but I don't think it's wise for us to set aside specific dollar amount until we work with the leadership and get some design ideas and some rough ideas about what it will cost to build out the kind of skate park that people are envisioning. Then we have an idea what our financial challenge is. how much loan money how much grant money we may have to go after, how much reserve money we have to set aside, how much general fund money, whatever. But to just say, hey, we're going to put this amount into this project right now without having really an idea of what it's going to cost, I think is putting the cart before the horse. So I'm in favor of starting a design process immediately. And if we can come up with something that can be funded out of the FY20 budget, fine. If the design's not done until FY21 or the money's not available until FY21, let's do it then. But the sooner the better, and we need to start the design process right away. We can't build anything without a design. There's got to be a blueprint. So that's what we really need to get started first anyway. So those are the thoughts I have regarding the skate park and the reserve fund. I have other issues or questions regarding the budget I'd like to talk about, but I'll defer to my colleagues on these issues first.
Well, we're going to continue on the budget. I think, let's continue. That's fine. Yeah.
3 points that I think are really important for us as a community and as a city.
Yeah.
Where are
Mr. Spriggs, can we just, hey, we got a lot of kids here. If you guys want to take off, we can we'll let Mrs. Archer know what the decision will be. But we want to appreciate, I know you guys have been waiting patiently, so thank you so much for coming. We'll text you as soon as we know.
Understood.
Thanks, everyone.
Got it. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
You want to take a minute? Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Sorry. I was trying to get I just wanted to finish my thought on that.
That's fine. But yeah, I know it. I agree with it. It was in a resolution in the past. It's not in an ordinance, it's in a resolution, and a lot of our stuff. Now, this was a mistake. I pointed out to Andy. I said, how are you using strategic capital reserve money for athletes? This is because our new public works wasn't around when we created strategic capital reserve fund, or it wouldn't have been proposed for athletes. Because they generate no how much it's going to take to push the project over, from being not penciling in to penciling in. Absolutely, that would be an ideal use of that. But we have other funding.
The resources that our city gets through that
Our job is to make sure we applied against city priorities, and we defined those priorities in terms of public work, economic uncertainty.
Can we continue? Mr. Spriggs, you were speaking.
All right, I said 3. You guys, you're rough on me, boy, I tell you. Well, you know, we've all looked at the budget for several iterations now. And I guess most of us have probably had one-on-one sessions to get in depth and ask questions and all of that. But one of the things that really strikes me about the situation that we're in right now with our budget is that we've had to make these staff consolidations and not fill positions during good times in Imperial Beach because of rising costs, particularly, you know, the sheriff's contract. And we have to have, I think, a better way to guide this council from staff regarding a little bit longer term. Several of us have spoken before about the need for a forecasting model that takes us out 4 or 5 years so that we don't just get into a 2-year cycle and then find ourselves presented with a 2-year budget where we've got staff reduction. Whoa, you know, we've got these big cost increases and now staff reductions, and we're going to try to manage that. And the staff has done a brilliant job of managing that. And I think the budget presentation was very clear, very straightforward, outstanding job. And I know that you guys worked extremely hard on it, and it shows because it's a well done budget. But what also shows is the fact that you guys are doubling up certain positions, including senior positions. You're using essentially the staff money that would have gone to a new finance director to replace Doug. You're asking the deputy city manager to take on a lot of those responsibilities, which she's done a great job doing. But the question is sustainability. You know, we're a small town, but we have a lot of complex different funding sources and expenses, and some real existential challenges that can at any point invade our budget. For example, flooding and stuff. So we need to have more budgetary leeway. We don't need to be cutting back staff time in good times when our tax revenues are at their highest, and yet we're having to do this. So I'm just saying we need to go keep at trying to get a senior finance manager that can help us with forecasting, advise this council on really best practice options for moving forward, including what we do with reserves and how to use reserves creatively, etc. Any number of things. This is not any criticism of our outstanding staff. It's just that we don't have that senior experienced expert here anymore. And we need that. And we need that forecasting plan. It's like driving a curving up and down road in the country in a dark night, and you don't have your high beams. You know, yeah, you might make it, but man, if that deer jumps out at the last minute, you don't see it, you know, you're toast. And that's kind of where we are without a forecasting model. It's just our regular lights, no high beams, and we're on a curvy, twisting road. Second, I've already really said it, and this is a bad prognosis to have to make staff reductions and consolidations and not fill key positions in good times. I think I may have mentioned it, but I don't want to see our staff burned out. And our staff's our most valuable asset, and we don't want to see that happen. Those are my basic points, believe it or not. You know, I already kind of incorporated into the first, and that's the need for us to get a CFO, a senior experienced chief financial officer. Otherwise, I think this is a sensible budget, well done. And I really commend you guys for the job you're doing. And I don't mean to be critical in my comments about where I think we need to go as a city, but it's kind of like, my job as somebody who's done a lot of budgets to say, you got to fill that job. And I know that you've tried, and I know that every city is looking for that great chief financial officer, or whatever the title is, and they're in short supply. But this community deserves the best, and we certainly want to be able to have the strategies that can bring us the resources so that we can do the things that the community needs, and that's a key position to do it. We don't want to just be treading water, hoping to survive, and making these kinds of reductions even in good times. And I think that kind of person can help us with generating revenue models and new sources of revenue as well, which we've all, as a council, talked about in our workshop that we need to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Spriggs. Appreciate it. Councilmember Aguirre.
Thank you. I agree with Councilmember Spriggs that our staff is our most valuable asset. I think they've done an incredible job in balancing our budget. I don't know if I agree with the need to bring on a CFO. I would be supportive of but in the sense that, well, the argument was that these are good times, but I think that the creativity that the staff has shown and the in balancing that budget has been well above what a lot of other cities have been able to do. So if the key is the forecasting model, I think that is important. I'm not saying it's not, but anyway, I just wanted to add that. I wanted to go back to the issue that Councilmember West was mentioning earlier about the capital funds and the public works funds. I think that it just kind of doesn't make sense to me to have them separated either. I think that we should re-examine that. I also want to see the skate park prioritized and get on it as soon as possible when it comes to design. I think it's a matter of safety. We have an array of different levels of skating, as we saw today, and the younger kids, we don't want them getting hit. We need an expansion of the skate park, and we need noise abatement as well. And if that means having more monitoring or patrolling from our sheriff and making arrests, I think that's absolutely fine. I think that's it.
Okay, so as you can see, you have 5 people up here with 5 different opinions. Sometimes they're the same, but the end result is, we want what's best for our city. Bottom line. And, we come to that conclusion through this discussion just like this. And because I don't agree with somebody or Mr. West doesn't agree with somebody, it's not like we leave here mad at each other. We just leave here as professionals going, what, we had a good conversation. I know the mayor would agree to that. So personally, I like setting aside the money for the skate park now. I think now's the time to do it. As for the strategic, can you bring that up, Ms. Erica? I'll make sure I say it right. Yeah, the strategic capital fund. We've had it in there for 7 years. It's been working. And for this budget, and I've seen this budget at numerous workshops, and I've seen it presented to me a number of different times. And for us just to take it out real quick, it's just a little surprise for me. But I was thinking if we could keep it in for this budget and get this budget passed, and I like this budget exactly how it is. And I think that would be best. And then we look at maybe removing it in the future budgets. That's just a thought.
I don't think anybody mentioned. I think we were talking about in the future, just looking at a scenario where we
we are.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Because we need to move on this. Okay. And as for burned out staff, I don't see a burned out staff. Funny thing is, I see this group of individuals who are super hardworking and stepping up. And because I come in here quite often, and you could read people's faces. And you know, Mr. Hall, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I see a happy, hardworking staff that steps up and doing a great job. And a staff that works hard is a productive staff. A staff that has a lot of time on their hands, obviously not very productive. So I know two different schools of thought, but and that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thanks to everybody. And I want to thank the staff again. I know, the reality is we brought in, the capital CIP budget, issue around the skate park, but there's a whole budget that, we approved. And I appreciate all the outreach. I know we had 2 more outreach meetings. But the reality is we've been really focused, I think, the last 5 years on community-based budgeting and getting more feedback. And, the group of people that we haven't got feedback from are our kids, and so it was really for me moving to see all these kids in, because ultimately at the end of the day, that was community-based budgeting at its finest. Those kids really were communicating with us in a really moving, for me, and inspiring way that, hey, they're important. So I get a little emotional because my mom was really involved in the skate park. My whole family was really involved. My wife, my kids, my mom, in getting that funding for that skate park originally. And frankly, the way the city treated the community back then was not admirable. And I think the community acted really admirably, and political decisions were made to make that skate park as small as possible, then spend more money on the fence than the skate park. And when we really look at it now, it was unfortunate that happened, because the kids, we really cut our kids out of that process and sort of gave them a bad faith in government. But the reality is they have faith, which is really, really, really moving to me. Like, those kids really are like, okay, yes, well, we need the skate park, and it really articulated why it's important to invest in children and our most underserved asset, as Mrs. Archer said. So I think we need to make sure that we heard back from the community and make sure that we're really investing in those kids. Can you go to the list of CIP funding? There's a list of projects, I think. Yeah, look, I really understand that. It was the one with the park. Yeah, look, I get it that Civic Center parking landscape may be important, but I haven't heard a single community member say we need to spend $150,000 on parking and landscaping. I want to make sure that money, and maybe there's a reason, and I haven't heard it, why that's important. But I would hope if we need extra skateboard money or extra Parks and Rec money for our children and our seniors, that we can do that. Or we continue investing in the inside of the buildings, because frankly, the Civic Center meeting room needs. Well, no, I can't deal with the carpet back there, so I hope we can clean that out. So, no, I know, but anyway, so I just want to make sure that that's clear. And there's no criticism, but I want to make sure that that's clear. So anyway, really, thank you to staff for restructuring this. And it's really been great to get more feedback from the community. But for me, I got involved in politics and I ran for office precisely to make sure those kids' their voices are heard. So it really means a lot to me to have them come in and then have us council acknowledge their needs and the fact that they're really important, the most important part of the community. I was also really impressed with the IBAC. Those guys are old school IB residents who really stepped up to the plate in leadership. They don't throw tantrums. They don't scream. They just get stuff done. And I think that's the kind of leadership we should be showing as a model. The same thing with Mrs. Archer. She just immediately got to work organizing and got kids involved, and she's done that twice now. And so anyway, really, really great to see that. So with that, I was wanting to say on the fee stuff, I see our reporter here wrote an article on increasing the fee structure we talked about in the city, hotel taxes, but we had talked about just throughout the idea of fees on Uber and Lyft. That's something Chicago did. I'd love to see us innovate on that, because frankly, those companies are doing IPOs and generating billions of dollars in revenue that they're not giving to their workers, and they're taking from our cities because they're not spending any money to pay back for the profits they make in our city, in addition to wear and tear they have in our city and the congestion they cause.
With my work on the ground transportation ad hoc, I think that seeing at the airport with Uber and Lyft, I definitely think that's
the future. It's very clear. And they know, apparently, I talked to folks in Chicago last year. They knew that Uber and Lyft aren't going to contest that it's something they expect to happen. So with that, I want to thank again the staff and the council for a very collaborative community-based process. And
Hey, Mayor, one question.
Yeah.
Is the alleys, can we use our maybe some of our SB1 funding to go to? I know that SB1 covers alleys and roadways. Is that I don't want us to. I want to do the skate park, but I also don't want to just chop all the alleys out of there. I'd like to see if there's other avenues to just try to get some of the alleys done. There's
Yeah,
some of them that are really bad.
Yeah, we will look for funding for alleys. The gas tax monies are consumed for the next 2 years.
'Cause of
They're
IB
part of the
Boulevard.
IB Boulevard project, but we'll look for other revenue sources. And, you know, I think Erica said it earlier, we're going to work to try to make sure we can do both.
Beautiful.
I think that's important. You know, there's a balance to all of this stuff, and we'll keep
Here,
our
my friend.
ear to the ground to make sure we do that.
Yep.
And then finally, we just have to do a better job of reaching out to different parts of the community that aren't heard. And again, I appreciate the fact that we had community budget meetings on the east side, as well as at La Posta. I know some of you were at those meetings, and you know, whether or not we have it at the skate park or the senior center, we just got to do a better job of getting feedback, because the reality is the same people from the community come to the same meetings and have the same interest, which is really great, but we don't hear from the rest of the community, you know, and so that's really important. So with that, we'll close the public hearing, and you have to read this. Consider the contents of the proposed fiscal year 2019 to 20 and 2020-21 municipal budget and the 2-year implementation schedule of the capital improvements program, and adopt resolution 2019-8043 establishing the fiscal year 2019-20 and fiscal year 2020-21 municipal Imperial Beach budget. Is there a motion?
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thanks to everyone. Really impressive work.
Yeah, that's good. Cities around the county aren't able.
Gonna have to move forward, huh? Okay, now we have public hearing 4.1, public hearing on resolution number 2019-8041, Kurt and Sandy Giles. Regular coastal permit, variance, and categorical exemption pursuant to SEQA guidelines for the demolition of an existing 1-car garage and construction of a 2-car garage and second-story addition at 634 Ocean Lane. Public hearing is open. Assistant Planner Openshaw will give the report. Thank you so much for being here.
Excuse me. Honorable Mayor and members of the council, this is for Master File 1309 Giles. It is a variance to demolish an existing single-car garage and construct a 2-car garage with a second-story addition on a narrow lot at 634 Ocean Lane. The zoning of the property is R1500, the high-density residential zone. Here's an image of an aerial view of the site. This is an image of the existing site. This is a view looking north as well as a view looking south. Here are some images of the neighboring properties. An overview of the project. The site currently has a single-car garage. The project proposes a 2-car garage with a second-story addition. 2 parking spaces cannot fit without a variance because of the narrow lot width. A similar project was previously approved by the City Council. However, it didn't include the second-story addition. Details of the project. The purpose of the variance is to bring the property up to parity with other properties in the same zone and vicinity, but not granting any special privileges nor a concession that isn't currently enjoyed by other properties. Other properties in the vicinity and same zone have a similar configuration. It is a narrow lot with a 25-foot width, which does not allow for 2 parking spaces without a variance. This does create a hardship for the applicant. The configuration is similar to what currently exists today. DRB recommended approval of the project's design with a vote of 4-0. 1 member was absent. The DRB recommended the cement siding and to investigate proper drainage from the roof. These are both conditions that will be included approval within Resolution 2019-8041. And the DRB wanted to mention that they appreciated the applicant's design as well as the compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. Here are some images of the elevation, all cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, as well as a table that outlines the standards for the R1500 zone. The north setback for that is 5 feet, south setback 5 feet as well. The eastern setback for the garage is 20 feet. Eastern setback from the building is 15 feet. Building separation 10 feet, and lot coverage is 50%. Then we also outlined the existing single-car garage dimensions as well as the proposed project second 2-car garage. The existing single-car northern setback is 2 feet, southern setback 7 feet. Eastern setback from the garage is 3 feet.
Eastern setback from the building is 3 feet. The building separation is currently 8 feet, and the lot coverage is 54%. With the proposed second car garage, we have a north setback of 1.4 feet. The southern setback is 3.3 feet. Eastern setback from the garage is 7.75 feet, and the eastern setback from the building is also 7.75 feet. It should be noticed that this does eliminate the building separation, so that no longer is applicable, but the lot coverage is now 62%. Similarly, with the second story, except for the northern and southern setbacks, those are meeting the code requirements of 5 feet. The other dimensions are very similar. Here are some images of similar parking within the vicinity. The parking in the vicinity includes 2-car garages, 1-car garages, carports, as well as open parking spaces. A 2-car garage for a single-family residence would not be a special privilege, nor a concession that is not enjoyed by other properties. The Coastal Commission did review this project and provided the following comments: that side yards should be provided to preserve and enhance public views to the ocean. New development should conform to the current LCP standards. There is adequate room on the site for a single-car garage as well as a carport. The city should require the existing encroachments into the setbacks to be removed, and that the addition represents an expansion that relies on and requires the presence of a new structure that is inconsistent with the LCP. Staff finds that the side yard views are not impacted because of the existing single-family residence that goes west. Other properties in the vicinity do have similar configurations. This project would conform with the LCP because irregular lots may propose variances due to a hardship, and that 2 parking spaces would better comply with the municipal code as well as reduce demand for on-street parking. The city actually cannot require the existing building to be removed, and it should be noted that 2 parking spaces in any configuration would require a variance. Some examples are a garage and a carport would require a 31-foot width of a lot. A garage and an open space require 29 feet width for a lot, and 2 open spaces would not comply with the 50% enclosed requirement. In regards to the comment regarding view impacts, the proposed garage and second-story addition would not extend further than the existing single-family residence to the west. Recommendation is to adopt Resolution 2019-8041, approving the regular coastal permit variance and categorical exemptions pursuant to CEQA guidelines 15305 and 15303 for the demolition of an existing single-car garage and the construction of a 2-car garage and second-story addition at 634 Ocean Lane. Other options, the council can also approve the project with modifications requested by the city council, or disapprove the project and deny the requested permits by making findings for denial, or continue the public hearing to a specific future meeting to allow staff to provide additional information upon which a decision can be rendered. Thank you. And the applicant is here, and we are open for questions.
Great. We'll go to a public comment. Do we have any public comment at all?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Council, Mr. Patton.
Yeah. Am I speaking to you?
Staff.
Staff. Okay, staff.
Either one of us.
Welcome, staff.
Thank you.
So my question is it a basic, it's going to be a 1-bedroom up there with a closet? Is that going to be it?
There are 2 bedrooms, and there is also a bathroom.
Okay, but not a stove, a shower, and all to make it into like a little rental property?
No, that's not proposed. That's not proposed.
Perfect. Thank you.
Additional question? Oh, yeah.
I think your work is well done and well justified. The responses to the Coastal Commission are basically to disagree. And so I'm just thinking, given our delicate relationship with the Coastal Commission, whether anyone here, you all or anyone else on the staff has any way to assure us, even a little bit, that this isn't going to be a huffing puffing match with local Coastal Commission staff if we go forward with this.
They made the same comments the last time this project came forward. Sorry about my voice, but the last time this project came forward, they made the same exact comments. They didn't end up appealing it. We talked to them on the phone about the project, let them know why those findings are made, and they didn't take any concern that would lead into any other project. So we would not anticipate it would become a concern on our LCP update or any other projects we're working with Coastal on.
Okay. Secondly, the view corridors that they seem to be concerned about, are also the east-west view corridors between the buildings. Am I mistaken there, or because
They-
I think you addressed the north-south view corridor and that this was not going to protrude any further in that direction. But what about the adjacencies?
Their preference was to provide greater setbacks on the north and south sides,
Right.
which would mean removing portions of the existing building that's already encroaching so that greater views could be seen. The issue with that is any private property could build a 6-foot fence around their property, so there's really no public views in that area. The public views are on the street ends. Those are the public views. So their comments wouldn't necessarily apply to this because the existing building would remain. It's legal non-conforming. It would stay the same whether this project was built or not.
Thank you very much.
Mr. West.
Nice job.
Great, thanks. This is why we have LCPs and why the Coastal Commission shouldn't be involved in micromanaging a garage addition. So, because this is what happens in cities without LCPs, like in Malibu, where you have giant public hearings and fight over a garage addition. So anyway, that's what we have to articulate when we talk about why the city has an LCP and why we need to get ours approved and move forward. So anyway, thank you. Very good job. And with that, I will close the public hearing. Entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-8041, approving regular coastal permit 1874 variance 1875 and categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA guidelines 15305 and 15303. Is there a motion? Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Yep. And very well behaved.
Yes.
Tell him,
And now-
tell him he's going to get a skate park.
We have item 4.2, public hearing on resolution number 2019-8042, confirming the diagram and assessment and providing for the levy of the annual assessment in a special maintenance district. I'm not doing 4.3 and 4.4 at the same time, or no, we're doing after that. Yeah, right, okay.
Good evening.
And I declaring the public hearing open. Public Works Director Minutes shall give the report. Sorry.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Yeah, if this wasn't a public hearing, we'd probably be putting this one on consent. This is the annual assessment that we do for the levy of the street lighting district for the properties fronting SR 75. The assessment generates approximately $11,000, $12,000 in funding toward the lighting district. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any speaker slip?
I have no speaker slip.
Any discussion? Yeah, go ahead, please.
So there's been a lot of new development along the corridor that this assessment would apply to. Do those properties, including those yet to come, get automatically incorporated into this, or do we have to take an action?
It's automatically every year. About a month ago, you gave us authorization to let our engineer go in there and do the assessment. They look at the new parcels, and that's what changes it slightly every year as things happen. So as parcels occur, it gets addressed.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close public hearing, and I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-8042.
So moved.
Please vote. Oral vote.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously by those present. Mayor Dedina presently absent.
You're doing a great job there.
Yeah, thank you. So, 4-3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and announce items number 4.3, 4.4 will be considered at the same time because they are interrelated. However, City Council will consider separate motions. So I'm going to go ahead and declare both public meeting or hearings open, and Public Works Director Miniticelli will give the reports.
I'll address 4.4 first. This is amendment we do about every 6 months. It's for the RTIP, the Regional Transportation Improvement Program. where we list out the list of projects eligible for funding with our Transnet sales tax. And so as part of this latest update amendment to the RTIP for FY, they call it the 2018 RTIP, but it affects years from 2019 to 2023. We're adding a couple projects to that RTIP. One of them is the pedestrian access project, and the other project is the Imperial Beach Boulevard Enhancement Project. We've talked about these maneuvers back in February to add these two projects to the RTIP. Total cost of $1.5 million, which we're going to be pursuing through the commercial paper program that Sandag has to utilize Transnet funds, and that leads right into the other portion of this hearing related to the MOU with Sandag for the commercial paper to fund those two projects, utilizing $1.5 million in Transnet revenues to push those projects forward and work through them in the next fiscal year. This MOU is almost identical to the one that we did back in February, but Sandag wanted us to come back and do it again when we have adjusted the RTIP, because the RTIP adds in these two projects. So it's essentially, we're just bringing it back to you, just like we did back in February. And now we've crossed all the I's and T's with the Sandag, and by July 1st, we'll have the funding to go forward with those projects. With that, I'll open it up to any questions.
No, Mr. Mayor.
So this project, these.
Yeah, blow up.
Yeah, just before now, prior conversation. So this project isn't adding new funding to the IB Boulevard project.
No, this is simply the funds that we already approved back in February, but this is related to the new fiscal year that's about to start up. It actually brings those funds in and gets the, like I said, Sandag wanted us to adjust the RTIP officially before we did the MOU with them.
Okay, and we will be essentially borrowing against future RTIP monies coming from Sandag.
Exactly.
Okay, so over about a 4 or 5 year period, and an interest rate of about 2.5 or something like that.
2.5, and hopefully getting even better lately.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a good way to avoid using general funds or going into the general market, bond market, and that sort of thing.
Their cost of issuing these kind of bonds would be much more more effective and efficient than us doing it on our own. Certainly. Yeah, we're too small.
It is small. Well, just one last comment. I hope that we will. Are we incorporating any ongoing sort of traffic studies or reviews regarding this project to see what the actual impacts are on traffic flows in Imperial Beach?
Specific to the IB Boulevard project, as part of the grant funding that project has received, right. And we are required to do so, and so we absolutely are doing that. We had to do studies prior to the project. We're looking at stuff during the project, and we'll have to do additionally at post-project studies as well, related to pedestrian counts, bicycle counts, all that kind of thing.
And traffic delays as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Oh, anyway, I'd like to close the public hearing unless there's more comments. And I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-8044 to request Sandag to provide advanced funding through debt financing, to appropriate $200,000 to the pedestrian access project and $1.3 million to the Imperial Beach Boulevard Enhancement Project, and 3, authorize the city manager to sign the attached MOU with Sandag. Is there a motion? Please vote. There'll be one more vote after this.
Motion carried unanimously.
And then that the city council hold a public hearing, receive public comment, and adopt resolution number 2019-8045 to amend the 2018 RTIP to add the pedestrian access project to the City of IB Capital Improvement Program, the 2018 RTIP, and add $200,000 to the pedestrian access project and $1.3 million to the Imperial Beach Boulevard Enhancement Project from the Sandag Commercial Paper Financing Program, and adjust the 2018 Transnet Local Street Improvement Program projects. Your motion? Please vote.
Councilmember West, please vote. There you go.
Do we do the
Motion carried unanimously.
regular meeting adjourned, and now I'd like to call the closed session meeting to order. Closed session meeting to order. Okay.